Chapter 444. You guys are martial artists? Fengwulan's expression could be seen immediately changing, and she asked with a fawning look on her face. From this, it could be seen how popular martial artists were. If Xiaoyi knew that martial artists were so popular here, he would definitely stay here and develop himself. Yihua didn't say anything, and Donghuang Baiji, who was the empress, also didn't say anything. Only Qingye spoke on behalf of the family. That's right. Qingye said faintly. Donghuang Li also pointed at herself and said, Ali is also a martial artist. Fengwulan was shocked. Not only was Fengwulan shocked, everyone who was from the aristocratic faction was also shocked. They didn't expect that Shi Tingting, who was about to be banished, would actually bring 4 martial artists here to have a meal. Right now no one dared to look down on Shi Tingting anymore. Pa! A loud and clear sound of a slap rang out in the dining hall. Everyone looked at Fengwulan. When this woman becomes ruthless, she's simply inhumane. Yihua and the others were also very confused. Everything was clearly fine. Why did you suddenly slap your own man? Look at that man. He was holding on to his face, completely stupefied, completely unable to understand why he suddenly slapped himself. Fengwulan smiled toward Shi Tingting and said, Tingting, this man deserves to die. He actually dared to seduce me. Fortunately, I noticed some clues just now and didn't continue to be fooled by him. Shi Tingting sneered. The man shouted out that he was wronged. I didn't do anything just now, and you slapped me for no reason at all. And you even said that I seduced you. Simply too shameless. Who seduced you? Fengwulan, it was obviously you who seduced me. Tingting, listen to my explanation. The man could be seen kneeling in front of Shi Tingting and begging. He knew that Shi Tingting was about to rise up. Fengwulan said, Tingting, don't ever believe this man's words. His mouth is full of sweet words. Although he was your fiancé in the past, he actually shamelessly seduced me, making me feel ashamed. This man was indeed Shi Tingting's fiancé in the past, until he was seduced by Fengwulan. When he had nothing to do, he would bring his male pet to show off, and today was also the same. Just that he saw that there was a martial artist beside Shi Tingting. It could be seen that martial artists were truly popular. Tingting, don't listen to his nonsense. It was this woman who drugged me. That's why I did something that let you down. And she even threatened me, saying that if I don't kneel down and lick her, she will beat me up. Fengwulan yelled. Men, drag him out and beat the shit out of him. Fulfill his wish. Instantly, a few fully armed men in mechas walked over and dragged the man away. However, the man was still struggling. Tingting, I know I was wrong. Please save me. I won't dare to do it again. I'll serve you well. However, Shi Tingting ignored them. She could still vividly remember how the two of them had treated her. This kind of man was only handsome, and this powerful noblewoman was completely played with like a dog. After playing with him enough, she would just kill him like this. It was the same in every world. The strong were respected, and the weak were food. Honorable martial artists, I'm really sorry for disturbing your meal. You can eat whatever you want, it's all on me. Tingting, take good care of the martial artists. This Fengwulan was also a smart woman. She knew that her first impression of Yihua wasn't very good. Thus, she didn't directly start a conversation with Yihua. Instead, she expressed her apology and complimented the martial artists. Mister, this is my name card. If you have any questions, you can contact me. My 9949 holographic phone will protect you 24/7. Yihua accepted Fengwulan's name card. This made the latter very happy, and she left happily. The reason why I accepted this name card is to prepare for when I don't need it. If the traveling expenses are not enough, at least there will be someone to count the money and pay for me. That would be my greatest honor. Mister, this woman is very good at lying. Seeing that Yihua accepted the name card, Shi Tingting still stopped, in case her mister was lied to. The corner of Yihua's mouth curved up, and he said indifferently, only the two of them can lie to me. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji rolled their eyes at their husband. You are obviously the one who lied to us. And you still have the cheek to say that we lied to you. You are so shameless. Shi Tingting felt that their relationship is really good. They are really a match made in heaven. They are incomparably perfect. Even their daughter is so cute and obedient. Very quickly, Various kinds of dishes were served. Needless to say, the dishes tasted really good. The heat was just right. When it should be tender, when it should be loose, when it should be tight, when it should be tight. Advanced civilization sure is good. I reckon that this chef is a robot, right? If we don't consider the nutritional value, the taste is indeed not bad. So spicy, 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 Dong Huangli shouted out to her mother. Right now, Dong Huang Baiji also had Voidless Realm's mineral water, Bejeweled Jade Immortal Dew with her. In case the child gets thirsty, the spiciness will help them quench their thirst. Dong Huang Baiji could be seen grabbing at the air, and a bottle of Yi Bao appeared in her hands. This move of hers made Shi Tingting stupefied. What kind of spatial technology is this? This family of theirs is really mystical. It feels as if they are not afraid of anything at all. Furthermore, Mr. is bringing 2 such beautiful wives with him. Isn't he afraid that something might happen? After all, their beauty is truly enviable. Mommy, help Ali open the bottle. Ali's hands are covered in oil. Ali waved his hands. So spicy, Dong Huang Baiji smiled gently and opened the bottle. An enchanting fragrance emitted out from the bottle of Yi Bao mineral water, and the fragrance quickly filled the entire dining hall. Everyone closed their eyes and enjoyed this moment of comfort. Their minds felt incomparably relaxed, and it was as if all of the worries in their minds had vanished into thin air. Shi Tingting, who was the closest to the bottle, was able to sense this fragrance even more. Furthermore, this fragrance seems to be familiar to Shi Tingting. I remember back then when I went to the imperial capital with my father. I was fortunate enough to stand among the crowd and see the emperor. And back then, the emperor seemed to have opened a bottle of national wine for the sake of celebrating. According to the legends, the national wine had been stored for over 1,000 years. When the national wine was opened, it was also this fragrance that made everyone present feel intoxicated. Everyone looked towards the direction of the national wine. After all, the dining hall was only so big, and they would be able to find the national wine very quickly. Is that the national wine? One of the aristocrats muttered. How can it be the national wine? That is the emperor's most valuable treasure. Unless it is a major festival or a celebration, the emperor would not take out the national wine. That's right. The current martial king viewed a small bottle of national wine as a treasure. However, this fragrance is indeed as described. It makes one feel intoxicated. Dong Huang Baiji pinched onto her daughter's face and said dotingly, "Stretch out your hand." Dong Huangli stretched out her pair of small hands. However, Dong Huang Baiji took the bottle and poured the water out. When everyone saw Dong Huang Baiji's action, they widened their eyes. This is too much of a spendthrift. This spendthrift woman, she actually used this kind of water to wash her daughter's hands. Chapter 445. Dong Huangli washed her hands clean, then held on to Yi Bao with both of her hands. Gulp, gulp. He drank an entire bottle in one go. Burp, so cool. Looking at her daughter's adorable look, Dong Huang Baiji stretched out her hand and smoothed her daughter's hair. No matter what, we are still outside. I have to pay attention to my image. Dong Huang Baiji took out another bottle. Shi Tingting, who was sitting opposite, was dumbfounded. No wonder he used it to wash his hands. All the nobles also discovered that the beautiful woman actually had a lot of such things. Should I buy a bottle? Qinya opened the bottle cap and personally poured a cup for Shi Tingting. This caused Shi Tingting to be very terrified as she took the cup with both of her hands and received it. When the nobles saw that Shi Tingting could drink such wine, they were simply envious and jealous. Shi Tingting felt very honored. Their family was really nice. Shi Tingting took a sip of the water. This kind of feeling was like being in the sea. His body and mind were completely relaxed, and the joy of the brain was incomparable. This was the sublimation of the soul. No, I can't drink anymore. Sir, I don't want to drink anymore. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. Not giving me any face at all. Shi Tingting didn't finish her sentence. I want to store it and drink it slowly in the future. Yihua's brows gradually unfurrowed. To them, this water might be a treasure, but to me, this water is merely something that I can use to wash my daughter's hands. Voidless Realm spring water is truly one of a kind. Perhaps, Even in the entire Milky Way galaxy, there wouldn't be so many spring water. It would be a lie to say that they weren't envious. Some of the nobles began to whisper and discuss bad things. After dinner, Shi Tingting brought Yi Hua and his family to martial arts home. Every city has a martial arts home that provides tests and assessments. The rating is produced in the martial arts home. The higher the rank, the bigger the city, the smaller the city. Of course, this is only for the Blue Blaze Star, because this small city is as big as a province. But small cities like this were quite common on the Blue Blaze Star. Looking at the 2-story tall martial arts home in front of him, Yi Hua felt that this martial arts home was a bit too shabby. Sir, this is a small place. There aren't many people who learn martial arts here, so the scale looks very ordinary. Shi Tingting explained. Compared to the other buildings, this martial arts house was indeed shabby, but there were a lot of people going in and out. There are humans and there are also other races. This is truly an eye-opener. I wonder if I will be able to see Wei Chang's relatives. Mommy, do you think that if I take a photo with those strange uncles, will they pay any attention to Ali? Dong Huangli hugged onto her mother's thigh and looked at those aliens. Right now, Dong Huangli really wanted to go and take a photo with those aliens. Dong Huang Baiji smiled. Ali, you're asking politely. But Ali is shy, she doesn't dare to go. Dong Huangli buried her face into her mother's thigh. Don't be fooled by Ali's carefree demeanor. When it came to other races, it was still very shy. Walking into the home of martial arts, the atmosphere was a bit heavy. Bang! With a muffled sound, the result of the test came. Lu Feifei, Martial Disciple Grade 1. Vast Green, Primary Martial Disciple. Hai Xiaoxiao, Martial Disciple. But if you think they will be disappointed, you are wrong. Even if he was just a beginner martial disciple, it also symbolized that his future path would lead to a martial king. Therefore, he was very happy and felt that he would be able to stand at the peak of the world and look down on everyone. However, they did not know the hardships of the path of cultivation. Some people cultivated to the level of a martial artist and were stuck their entire lives, unable to advance any further. Some people even gave up because they were afraid of being tired. In short, the road of martial arts was very difficult, but as long as one stood out, it would be a matter of bringing honor to one's ancestors. For poor children, that was their only chance. However, in this room, there were many people dressed in luxurious clothes. They were also waiting in line for the test. Along with Yi Hua entering the venue, a few groups of people followed behind him. From the looks of it, there were already people who had ill intentions. Of course, Yi Hua was aware of that. They can follow me as they please, as long as they don't do anything to me. Hee, then prepare to receive my wrath. Ali, go and give it a try. Yi Hua changed his mind at the last moment, and decided to let Ali practice. Okay, Papa, Dong Huangli responded, then went to the back of the line. A staff member walked to the side and asked Dong Huangli, Sir Ali? Shi Tingting was a little worried. Qingye said faintly, you can be at ease. Dong Huangli, who was standing in the crowd, looked very short. Because most of the people in the crowd were adults, only a few of them looked like youngsters. However, there wasn't a single child in the crowd. An adult could be seen walking to the front of the machine, taking a deep breath, then shouted out. Then the adult punched towards the machine. Bang! Failed next. When the adult heard the result, a dejected look appeared on his face. I didn't expect that after cultivating for so long, I would still fail like this. At this moment, there were a few machines that were testing at the same time. A man dressed in luxurious clothes could be seen walking onto the stage. Who is that? Yi Hua asked curiously. Shi Tingting said, Sir, that is Gao family's young master. The person who attacked us today is his older brother. Bang! Following a muffled sound. The staff member announced, Gao Kin, third-rank martial disciple. The crowd went into an uproar. As expected of Gao family's young master, he is already a third-rank martial disciple at such a young age. I heard that his older brother, Gao Yi, is also a martial artist. This main sect is incredible, they even stole away the limelight. Gao Kin is so handsome. Gao Kan, who was on the stage, swung his head, causing a few females to scream out continuously. At this moment, another man walked onto the stage. The man was dressed in ordinary clothes, but the crowd's reaction was very strange. Yihua felt very curious and asked, "Who is he?" "Sir, he is from the royal family. His name is Zhou Jie. In the past, he was also very impressive, reaching 5th rank martial disciple at such a young age. He could be said to be the youngster with the most potential of the year, but for some reason he suddenly became weak and fell down from the altar, thus losing the support of his family." After Shi Tingting explained, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji felt that this youngster had quite a bit of perseverance. He did not get knocked down by the difficulties. After listening to Zhou Jie's story, Yihua didn't think much about it. In any case, it was just a story of a hard-working youngster who finally reached the peak of his life after going through untold hardships. Too cliché. Zhou Jie slowly walked up the stairs, and behind him, some people were ridiculing him. I remember that in the past, they would always follow behind him and bootlick him. "Young Master Zhou, don't waste your effort. In any case, isn't it better to just eat and wait for death?" "Ha ha ha, that's right, young Master Zhou. You are already no longer the genius Zhou of the past." Chapter 446. Zhou Jie listened to the ridiculing voices. Zhou Jie clenched his fists. "These are all despicable people. When I recover my strength, I will let them know how powerful I am." Zhou Jie stood in the horse stance and clenched his right fist, then shouted out, "Aha!" Bang! Everyone was waiting for the result to be announced. The strength of that punch seems to be quite strong. Could it be that this Zhou Jie recovered his strength? Zhou Jie, beginner martial disciple. The crowd started booing. I thought that this Zhou Jie had risen to power, but it turns out that he is still the same. "Hey Zhou Jie, I heard that if you continue to be like this today, Shi family will break off the engagement." "What a pity for Shi family, Shi-sahan." "That's right, whoever follows such a trash would definitely not be able to stand it." Dong Huangli felt that the big brother on the stage was rather pitiful, being ridiculed by everyone. However, Dong Huangli admired the big brother's endurance. It seems like he has already gotten used to it. Zhou Jie looked at the group of despicable people coldly and shouted out angrily, "Life is full of ups and downs, don't bully the young for being poor." Zhou Jie's words were very imposing, causing everyone to go into a daze. However, after a short while, the crowd burst into laughter. Gao Qin pointed at Zhou Jie and shouted out, "Look at this idiot, acting cool here even though he doesn't have the strength. Hurry up and go back. Shi family has already broken off the engagement with your family. You should save those words for your fiancé." Ah! After Gao Qin finished speaking, the crowd burst into laughter once again. Zhou Jie's face became gloomy as he memorized the faces of those who were laughing. "I will settle the scores with all of them in the future." After snorting coldly, Zhou Jie walked down the stage and walked outside. Bang! It was unknown who tripped Zhou Jie, causing him to fall on his face. Everyone burst into laughter once again. Zhou Jie was so angry that his chest was about to explode. "These trash! Wait till I recover my strength. I will make you pay for what you did today." "Big brother, are you all right?" A pleasant voice sounded out. Zhou Jie slowly raised his head and saw a little girl who was wearing a princess dress in front of him. The little girl's gaze was filled with concern. Facing the little girl's concern, Zhou Jie felt that it was ironic. Since when did a little girl like me have the right to care about me? Zhou Jie stood up and said coldly, "It's none of your business." Dong Huangli pouted her mouth, then walked back into the group. Right now, Dong Huangli finally understood why everyone wanted to bully him. Looking at her unhappy daughter, Donghuang Baiji held onto Yihua's arm and said, "Yihua, our daughter is angry." Qingye was a bit unhappy too. My pitiful little Ali, he clearly wanted to do a good deed, but in the end, the other party didn't appreciate his kindness. Yihua did not say anything. Not all good deeds will be rewarded with good deeds. My daughter also has to understand this point. Why would I be ridiculed by everyone? This is not without reason. The person who was standing in front of Donghuang Li was a young girl. Compared to everyone present, the young girl could be considered to be the youngest. The young girl's appearance was pretty good, and she could be counted as a beauty. The woman turned around and crouched down, comforting him. "Don't be sad, I've encountered it before." "Is that so?" Dong Huangli raised her head and asked adorably. Seeing how cute Dong Huangli was, the girl said with a smile. Of course, there are a lot of them. So there are many such things. Ali understands now. Ali, what's your name? The girl asked curiously. My name is Dong Huangli, big sister. What is your name? The girl smiled and said. My surname is Ziche and my name is Qingyi. Dong Huangli appeared to be very polite as she stretched out her hand and said. So it's big sister Qingyi. Hello? Hello little Ali, Zish Qingyi said with a faint smile. Ali, did you come alone? Dong Huangli shook her head, then pointed at her parents who were not far away from her. I didn't, Daddy and Mommy came with me. Zish Qingyi looked over and saw Yihua and the others. Soon after, Zish Qingyi asked curiously. Ali has been practicing martial arts at such a young age? So powerful. Dong Huangli said proudly. Of course, Ali has been practicing martial arts since she was a child. Zish Qingyi smiled but didn't say anything. You're already so young, so how young are you going to be? Ali's parents probably just wanted to train their child. Little guy, being able to punch through a piece of paper with your little fist is already not bad. A young man standing at the side laughed. Zish Qingyi looked at the man and said, Fei Bai, you're so shameless to bully a little girl. Fei Bai was a delicate-looking boy, and he was also one of the young people present. Qingyi, I'm just speaking the truth, isn't that right everyone? Fei Bai spread out his hands, and some of the people around him nodded their heads. What kind of strength can a little girl have? Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth and had a very angry look on her face. If it wasn't for Daddy and Mommy watching, I would have punched him right now and let him know that not only can Ali's little fist punch through a piece of paper, it can also punch through your body. Little fellow, it's better for you to go into Daddy and Mommy's embrace. This is the world of adults, it's very dangerous. Fei Bai laughed, then walked onto the stage. Of course, there was also Zish Qingyi. Zish Qingyi took a deep breath, shouted delicately and punched out. Boom. Zish Qingyi. Third-rank martial disciple. Everyone present went into an uproar. To be able to reach third-rank martial disciple at such a young age, this is truly amazing. As expected of Zish Qingyi, this proud daughter of heaven, Fei Bai who was at the side was not to be outdone either, and his entire body actually emitted out faint spiritual energy. This time, the entire place became silent. Spiritual energy actually leaked out. Bang! This sound caused everyone's ears to go numb. Fei Bai, fourth-rank martial disciple. Everyone was no longer able to remain calm. Even Gao Can's expression was gloomy. This Fei Bai is also from the main faction. Although they are from the same faction, he actually dared to step on my head. This is truly hateful. When the time comes, I will let Big Brother go and teach him a lesson. Completely unaware that his own big brother had already died. The three elders who were sitting at the side revealed a gratified smile. All of these youngsters are not bad. Their future prospects are boundless. This time it was Dong Huangli's turn. Qingye and Dong Huangbaiji were both excited, and they tightly held onto their husbands' hands. Although they knew of their daughter's strength, looking at the current situation, they couldn't help but feel worried for their daughter. Originally, Dong Huangli was only so big, standing in the crowd, it was impossible to notice her at all. Right now, when everyone saw Dong Huangli going onto the stage, they all laughed out loud. With such a small height, not even the equipment on the stage can reach her. Yihua and his two wives were very angry. These damn trash are actually laughing at our daughter. We really want to directly kill them. Little fellow, quickly go home and watch cartoons. That's right, little fellow, this place is very dangerous. Little fellow, quickly go home. Don't let Daddy and Mommy worry. Although Yihua was laughing, he was laughing at how cute Dong Huangli was. Yihua wasn't laughing at Dong Huangli after all. Dong Huangli has never seen a little girl before. Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth. Ali is angry. Chapter 447. His tiny fist struck out. Bang! The sound wasn't loud, but it reached everyone's ears. Everyone admired the little fellow's jumping ability. His posture was quite good, and he would definitely become a good martial artist in the future. Seeing that her daughter was able to calm down and take the test, Dong Huangbaiji felt relieved. Ali's mental state is not bad. Yihua said faintly as he took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. Qingya poked her husband, then pointed at her own stomach. Are you trying to poison your son to death? Yihua shook his head helplessly and stepped on the cigarette to extinguish it. Zixingyi, who was below the stage, felt that Dong Huangli's stance was pretty good, just that she was too young. Yo, not bad. Fei Bai was surprised and showed a praising expression. However, just as everyone was exclaiming, something even more shocking happened. The gigantic instrument began to emit green smoke. Then it began to shake violently, and cracks began to appear on its surface. With a bang, it actually broke into pieces. Dong Huangli snorted. Dong Huangli liked everyone's astonished expression. It seems like father, like daughter. They both liked to see other people's shocked expressions, as if they had eaten shit. The three old men were stunned. This instrument could withstand a blow from a martial warrior. How could it explode? There was definitely a problem with the instrument itself. A staff member came out and explained, I'm sorry, there's a problem with this instrument. What about me? What level are you at? Dong Huangli pointed at herself and said. The staff smiled and said, You can hit it again. Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth. So you don't believe in Ali, alright then. Ali could only make some noise. Dong Huangli could be seen walking to the side of the machine, and her posture was still the same as before. Bang. The little fist fiercely smashed onto the surface, and then, boom boom boom. The entire machine flew backward and smashed a hole in the wall. Then it crashed somewhere unknown. The entire place was silent. He rubbed his eyes, wondering if he was dreaming. How could that be? A little girl actually blew away the instrument. This was something that could block a blow from a samurai. Unbelievable. It was too fake. Dong Huangli was very satisfied with this kind of effect. Clapping her little hands, Dong Huangli waited for the announcement of her level. But what did they know? The staff member walked out and said with a smile, Everyone, I'm really sorry. Both machines are broken. Please come again next time. Then what about Ali's level? Dong Huangli was unwilling to give up. I have already waited for such a long time. Why aren't I given a level yet? The staff smiled and said, Little friend, there's no way to determine your level yet. When we buy new equipment, you can come back for the test. Dong Huangli let out a breath. Acting cool is so hard. Why is it that Daddy is so awesome when acting cool, and why am I not able to? It seemed that Ali still had to learn a lot from Papa and strive to have half of Papa's demeanor as soon as possible. Dong Huangli, who was helpless, walked down from the stage, then took a look at Zixingyi, who was in front of her, and let out a deep sigh. This feeling seemed to be saying that Ali was really depressed. If she had known this would happen, she would have hit him more gently and wouldn't have sent him flying. Ali is really amazing. Although he did not know how strong Ali was, he was certain that Ali was at least stronger than him. Dong Huangli smiled embarrassedly. It's all right. Ali, right? Big brother, I misunderstood you just now. Fei Bai walked over and said while stammering, I feel that I have lost a lot of face by apologizing to a child. Dong Huangli pursed her lips. Big brother, Ali accepts your apology. Oh. When did I apologize just now? You are simply spouting nonsense and creating trouble. Looking at his daughter getting along well with the group of older children, Yihua smiled. I feel that my daughter has grown up. Dong Huangbaiji was a bit sentimental. It seems like my daughter will leave me and die when she grows up. Yihua lightly hugged onto the empress. Ali is going to get married sooner or later. I can't bear to. Dong Huangbaiji became more and more sentimental, and her eyes turned red. Upon thinking about how my sweetheart is going to get married to someone else, my heart feels terrible. Yihua smiled. How about this? Let Ali get married to someone else. This way, Ali won't leave your side. That's the only way then. Dong Huangbaiji felt that what Yihua said was true. My daughter cannot be married off to someone else. It's fortunate that my child is a boy. I don't have to worry about it at all. Hello, may I ask if Dong Huangli is your child? One of the three old men could be seen walking over and asking. Shi Tingting immediately shouted out respectfully, Ding Kong. Martial arts home could be considered as the fourth biggest power in the world, but it doesn't participate in any power struggles. Martial arts home has schools in various big cities, and this Kong Yu was the dean of the school in this city. How could he be willing to part with a new star like Dong Huangli? In the future, Dong Huangli will definitely become a martial king, and she might even become a martial spirit, or even a higher-level martial overlord. Towards this polite old man in front of him, Yihua nodded his head. Kong Yu was overjoyed. Dong Huangli is a good child. If this old man teaches her, she will definitely become extraordinary in the future. Do I even need an old man like you to teach my daughter? However, seeing that your attitude is good, I will forget about it. No need, Yihua said indifferently. While hugging onto his two wives, he looked at his daughter bragging to others. Kong Yu wrinkled his brows, then signaled to Shi Tingting, who was at the side, to say good things about Dong Huangli. Shi Tingting shook her head. Although we just came into contact with each other, Shi Tingting felt that this mister doesn't like to say things twice. If not, he will get angry. It wasn't easy for me to beg mister. And now that the situation has stabilized, I don't want to disturb mister or make mister angry. Kong Yu stood there for a while. I have to inform the higher-ups about this matter. This Dong Huangli is not simple. Too formidable. In the future, she will definitely become a martial king. Most of the people at the scene had already left, and Dong Huangli was preparing to return to her parents' side. However, she suddenly had two big friends, and she really wanted to go out and play with them. Ali, big brother will bring you out to play. Do you want to go? Fei Bai grinned and said. In actuality, this person isn't a bad person, he just likes to joke around. Zish Qingyi wrinkled his brows and said, where do you want to bring Ali to? Qingyi, look at that expression of yours. Where else can we go? Of course, we are going to Zhou family to watch a good show. We are going to cancel the engagement. Dong Huangli became interested. Playing with daddy and mommy is boring. Sometimes, this place is not allowed, that place is not allowed. Ali wants to go, but Ali is afraid that daddy and mommy won't agree to it. Dong Huangli had a worried look on her face, as she secretly took a glance at her parents who were not far away from her. Fei Bai said with a smile, Ali, when I was your age, I would have long gone out and walked around by myself. Hee hee, you get beaten up by someone every day. Zish Qingyi suddenly revealed this information, causing Fei Bai to feel very awkward. Chapter 448. Fei Bai had a calm look on his face as he rubbed onto Ali's head. Leave it to brother Fei. Zish Qingyi was helpless. However, he quite liked Ali. She was a very interesting little girl. Dong Huangli could be seen dragging the two of them to the front of her parents while trembling with fear and trepidation. Yihua silently looked at the boy and girl behind his daughter. The boy and girl immediately shrunk back. This man's gaze is so scary. Seeing her daughter like this, Dong Huang Baiji thought back to when she was young. At that time, she wanted to go out to play, but in the end, she was caught and beaten by her father. Daddy, mommy, can Ali go out to play with big brother and big sister? Dong Huangli asked softly. Looking at her daughter's expectant gaze, Dong Huang Baiji didn't know if she should learn from her father and discipline Ali properly. Such a young child actually wants to go out to play with her friends. Right now, Yihua was also pondering. My daughter has the strength to protect herself, so I'm not worried about my daughter's safety. I should let my daughter have her own friends and social circle. I can't always tie my daughter to my side. I need to have my own thoughts and opinions. Seeing her daddy and mommy's sunken face, Dong Huangli lowered her head even more, and used her shoes to poke the ground, looking very pitiful. Fei Bai mustered up his courage and said, Uncle, auntie, don't worry, in this long and city, as long as I am here, no one will dare to bully Ali. Zish Qingyi silently nodded his head. Shi Tingting said softly, Mister, their two families are very prestigious in Long and City. Yihua asked curiously, is this place called Long and City as well? Yes, mister. What a coincidence. Even their names are the same. It wasn't easy for my daughter to make new friends. Although they aren't the same age, it still wasn't easy. If I were to reject them now, my daughter would definitely be sad. Dong Huang Baiji thought so too. My daughter had been living in the courtyard since she was young, and all she came into contact with were maids. She didn't have any friends at all. Now that she had two new friends, she would definitely be very happy. When are you coming back? Yihua asked faintly. In the end, he still decided to let his daughter go out to play, and let her experience the world by herself. Even if there was any danger, he would also know about it. Furthermore, with the strength that his daughter had displayed, there was no one in the entire Long and city who could be her match. Hearing her father's words, Dong Huangli became happy. Uncle, don't worry. We'll bring Ali to big sister Shi's house for dinner. What do you think? Zhixingyi said seriously. He felt a lot of pressure. Ali's parents were definitely not ordinary people. Yihua silently nodded his head. Ali, remember to come back after dinner. And Daddy, I got it. I guarantee that I will come back on time. Dong Huangli immediately became lively and started bouncing around happily. If this was an ordinary family, they would definitely not allow such a thing to happen. However, as the daughter of a supreme overlord, how could she possibly compare herself with an ordinary child? Yihua also wished for his daughter to experience the world as soon as possible. There are many kinds of friends, and I hope that my daughter will be able to clearly see who is good to her and who is using her. Mommy, Ali went out to play. I won't disturb Daddy and Mommy's honeymoon anymore. After finished speaking, Dong Huangli pulled onto Fei Bai and Zhixingyi's hands and ran out. Dong Huang Baiji said. Yi Bai Baiji and said to laugh. Li Ji, Li Li's parents, Yin Yi. Yihua patted on Dong Huang Baiji's shoulder. Don't worry, Ali is very smart. She won't be able to play with us. Children need their own space too. Yihua, I didn't expect you to know so much. Qingya held onto her husband's arm and teased. Yihua lowered his head and said softly, the thing that knows the most is your body. Qingya pinched Yihua's waist. This bastard is getting more and more shameless. Alright, children should play with children's things. We adults should also play with adults' things. Shi Tingting, do you have any bars here? Yihua asked faintly. I'm going to take a look at what a civilized bar looks like and learn from other people's techniques. When I go back, I'm going to improve my bar. If not, I'm going to go bankrupt. Shi Tingting asked. Mister, what kind of bar do you want to go to? The highest class ones, the ones that have the best business. Understood. This was Long, and city that was as big as a province. There were countless entertainment facilities. Of course, there were only a few high-class ones. After Dong Huangli ran outside, she was simply overjoyed. I'm finally free from the halo of Daddy and Mommy. Ali, your daddy looks so fierce. Zhixingyi said softly. Although Zhixingyi didn't show any expression, Zhixingyi felt that Daddy was hard to get along with. Big sister Qingyi, my daddy is actually quite easy to talk to. The prerequisite is that you don't provoke him. Dong Huangli laughed mischievously, because the group of people that provoked Mommy were all killed by Daddy. Daddy is the protector of Mommy and me. Having such a cute daddy is truly a blessing. Ali feels that she is too lucky to be able to be Daddy and Mommy's daughter. Fei Bai asked curiously, Ali, how strong is your daddy? I don't know how strong Ali is, but in any case he is very strong. What are we going to do? Are we going to play at the amusement park, or are we going to play with dolls? Dong Huangli was already impatient. Fei Bai laughed out loud. Those are all things that children play. Ali is a child. Zhixingyi revealed out a faint smile, causing Fei Bai to become a bit absent-minded. Soon after, Fei Bai shook his head. Ali, let's go and watch the wedding annulment. That scene would definitely be explosive. Fei Bai suggested. Dong Huangli wrinkled her brows. Is it that little big brother who was ridiculed by everyone? That's right, their family is treating us today, but this Zhou Jie's test is still the same. They will definitely come and cancel the wedding. Fei Bai was already impatient to see Zhou Jie's helpless and angry look. Wasn't he very arrogant in the past? To think that he is so amazing just because he is a pampered son, this is retribution. If big sister Qingyi goes, Ali will go too. Dong Huangli held onto Zhixingyi's hand and said. Zhixingyi looked at Fei Bai, seemingly to be asking, how are you going to beg me? Qingyi, we have been friends for many years. Before Fei Bai could finish, Dong Huangli cried out in surprise. Big brother Fei, do you like big sister Qingyi? If Fei Bai choked on his own saliva, while Zhixingyi turned her face away, with a slightly red face. Ali, how could I possibly like Qingyi? It can't be. Fei Bai hurriedly explained. Zixingyi said coldly. Who asked you to like her? Shameless. After finished speaking, Zixingyi pulled Dong Huangli and walked away. No. Qingyi, listen to my explanation. Fei Bai hurriedly followed after Zixingyi. You can go and explain to other women. Chapter 449. This situation is a bit similar to that of Papa and Mama. It seems that Ali can also be a matchmaker, ha ha ha. Fei Bai had no choice but to follow. After hearing what Ali said, he was a little confused. In actuality, Fei Bai and Zixingyi had known each other since they were young. Long, and City's social circle was only that big. Fei Bai's family belonged to the bishop's faction, while Zixingyi belonged to the royal family's faction. They were destined to become rivals in the future. However, that was something to do after they grew up. After all, they were only 16 years old. When they were in the prime of their youth, they would hang out and play together. Zixingyi was one of the more outstanding girls among the three factions, and was liked by many boys. Of course, Fei Bai liked her as well, but he did not say it out loud. He knew that since he was in the bishop's faction, it was impossible for him to be with her in the future. At this moment, an octopus bro walked over with a microphone in his hand. Hello, this is a street interview. Octopus bro grinned, and his entire head was filled with tentacles. Looking at the octopus bro, Dong Huangli's entire body went numb, and Dong Huangli hid behind Zixingyi. Fei Bai and Zixingyi were now normal. Fei Bai said, Interesting, what do you want to interview? I have a device here. Just take a look at your face, and you will know how many times you have booked a room. Zhang Yuji's words shocked Fei Bai. The number of times he booked a room? Fei Bai said hurriedly. What's there to test? Let's go. Wait, I think the test is pretty good, Zixingyi said indifferently. Qingyi, that's not allowed. I'll treat you to ice cream. Zixingyi didn't care at all, and let Brother Octopus do the test. Octopus was very happy. He wanted to break up a couple and take revenge on society. The test results came out very quickly. 0 room booking record. This made Fei Bai secretly happy. He did not think that Qingyi had not gone to a hotel before. She was a good girl. Qingyi, didn't you say there's a dress you like? I'll buy it for you. Fei Bai immediately changed the topic. Test, Zixingyi said coldly. Dong Huangli said in a low voice. Big brother Fei, do you not dare to do it? He, who says I don't dare? It's just a test. So be it. Fei Bai could only bite the bullet. However, the results were often astonishing. At such a young age, he had actually opened it 153 times. Hearing this result, Zixingyi's entire body emitted a chill. Thank you for your cooperation. I wish you two a long life together. Brother Octopus ran away after saying that. He was very worried that he would get hammered. Qingyi listened to the explanation. This is all a group of scoundrel friends getting a room and playing cards. It's not what you think. Zixingyi said indifferently. What does it have to do with me? Fei Bai kept explaining along the way, but he did not know why he had to explain such things. On the other hand, Zixingyi brought Dong Huangli everywhere, and bought delicious food for Dong Huangli. However, Fei Bai wasn't included. During this time, Zixingyi received a call from his father to attend the banquet hosted by the Zhou clan. After all, they were all from the royal family. This time, Fei Bai got what he wanted. Although he was from the Episcopal Church, because of his young age, he could still attend such a banquet, and the elders would not say anything. However, after he became an adult, he could no longer do so. The sky gradually darkened, and the three of them appeared in front of the Zhou family's main gate. This was a very high-tech mansion, and the ecosystem was self-regulating. One could not help but admire the comfort brought by technology. There were many people who came to attend the banquet, and most of them were from the royal family. However, there were also young people like Fei Bai who came to learn from the experience and build a good relationship with him. In the future, they would be enemies. Dong Huangli was also very curious, and she was sizing up Dong Huangli. This trip is too fun in the future. I should come out to travel more often in the future to gain more experience. Ali, follow closely. Zixingyi reminded. Yes. Qingyi, don't worry. I'll be watching over Ali, Fei Bai said with a smile. He had not paid any attention to Qingyi this afternoon. Zhixingyi exhaled. Keep an eye on Ali, I'll go greet him. Looking at Zhixingyi's father, who was not far away, Fei Bai tidied up his hair. Should I pay my respects to uncle? Get lost. All right. After Zhixingyi left for the time being, Dong Huangli pulled onto the corner of Fei Bai's clothes. Big brother Fei, do you like big sister Qingyi? Do children know what love is? Fei Bai sighed softly. Dong Huangli raised her chin and said, a few days ago, my daddy and mommy were quarreling with each other, and I was the one who pacified them. This little fellow really knows how to endlessly expose me. Sigh, Ali, you don't understand our situation here. Even if I like her and she likes me, in the end, we will only become enemies. Fei Bai seemed to be very disappointed. How great would it be if we were in the same faction? We wouldn't have to worry so much. Dong Huangli didn't understand these things and said naively, isn't it fine as long as the two of us like each other? Why do we have to become enemies? Fei Bai smiled and said nothing. You aliens are truly troublesome. Dong Huangli sighed and said in an old-fashioned manner. Fei Bai laughed and teased. You little alien, you sure are mature. Do you believe that I will be able to help you court big sister Qingyi? Dong Huangli smiled mysteriously. As expected, I inherited Yi Hua's genes. I like to do good deeds. Ali, if you are able to help me court Qingyi, I will do anything you want me to do. Fei Bai patted onto his chest. Right now, I am not of age yet. There are some rules that I don't have to follow. Dong Huangli appeared to be very confident. Leave it to me. Fei Bai patted onto Dong Huangli's shoulder. Big brother appreciates your kind intentions, but there are some things that a child wouldn't understand. The banquet was held in the form of a buffet. People who were dressed luxuriously were chatting with each other in groups, and robots were shuttling back and forth among the crowd, serving drinks to the people. Meanwhile, Dong Huangli pulled out a stool and stood on the stool, then began eating the cake. This is too delicious. This cream cake is simply too delicious. Everyone who was present at the banquet was sent by the royal family, and very few people would touch the buffet. Even if it was a person who looked like a teenager, it would be embarrassing for them to eat like this. However, Dong Huangli was a child, and she looked so cute. Ali, is it delicious? Zhixingyi held onto the cream cake and fed it to Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli happily received the cream cake, and her big eyes narrowed into slits. It's delicious. Fei Bai, who was at the side, was drinking fruit wine, looking very gentlemanly. Big sister Qingyi, let me tell you a secret. Dong Huangli said with a smile. What secret? Big brother Fei just told me that he has liked you for a very long time. Dong Huangli said with a smile. Uft. Fei Bai sprayed out all of the fruit wine that was in his mouth, then hurriedly explained. Qingyi, Ali is just spouting nonsense. Zhixingyi silently took a look at Fei Bai, then let out a cold snort. Dong Huangli sighed. Big brother Fei, if you continue like this, you will become a single dog in the future, just like my Uncle Green. Chapter 450. Dong Huangli pursed her lips. It means a man who is unable to find a wife, a lone star, a lone wolf. Hee, how could I, Fei Bai, not be able to find a wife? I can find a whole bunch of them in minutes. Hee, go look for him. Zhixingyi laughed coldly. Dong Huangli shook her head. This big brother Fei is also a male chauvinist. Within the crowd, there were a lot of people who were paying attention to Dong Huangli. The rumor of the national wine had already spread out. Not sure where did Shi Tingting from the aristocratic party found a martial artist, and when Shi Tingting was eating, the martial artist opened a bottle that was similar to the national wine, which attracted a lot of people's attention. He also wanted to know if it was true or not. Hey, isn't that Zhou Jia? Fei Bai pointed at the young man not far away. Dong Huangli also saw Zhou Jia. Tonight, Zhou Jia was wearing a white and fitting gown, appearing very refined and courteous. However, no one paid any attention to him, causing him to appear a bit miserable. Fei Bai laughed. I wonder if the Shi family will come tonight? If they come, then there will be a good show to watch. You like watching it that much? Zhixingyi asked indifferently. It's not like you don't know how arrogant Zhou Jia was when he was strong. Look at him now, no one even cares about him. Dong Huangli shook her head helplessly. Big sister Qingyi didn't mean that at all. She is truly an idiot. Suddenly, four people walked over from afar. Damn, the Shi family is really here, Fei Bai exclaimed. Everyone looked at the people from the Shi clan. Among them, there was a girl with an astonishing appearance, comparable to Zish Qingyi, but their temperaments were different. Zish Qingyi was amiable and approachable, while Shi Sahan had an air of arrogance. Everyone looked at the four of them. They discussed in whispers. The Shi family probably chose to come today to break off the engagement. Yeah, Zhou Jie used to be a spoiled brat, but now he's trash. How could the Shi family let Shi Sahan marry him? I didn't expect the proud son of the past to fall to such a state. That man looks so familiar. Heavens, it's Lu Qing, a first-grade martial warrior. A big shot. Looks like the Zhou family is going to be ruthlessly slapped in the face tonight. There are even 2 martial artist-level experts. Is the royal family going to have an internal strife? Among the 4, there was a handsome man with a cold look in his eyes, as if he didn't care about anyone. This kind of small city was trash. Even a martial artist could proclaim himself as a king here. If he came here, wouldn't he be able to ascend to heaven? The expressions of the Zhou clan members changed slightly when they saw the 4 of them. Zhou Jie in particular clenched his fists tightly. It was obvious that he already knew why they were here. This was really a case of a tiger being bullied by a dog. That's Lady Lu Qing. I didn't expect the Shi family to invite such a person. Fei Bai was astonished. Martial warriors were such powerful beings that they could teach others how to behave in a matter of minutes. Dong Huangli asked curiously, "Is this Lu Qing very powerful?" Ziju Qingyi took out a tissue and wiped the corner of Dong Huangli's mouth, then said in a low voice, "And I heard that in the main city, Dong Huangli's position is quite high. The Shi family is really generous." Fei Bai sighed. Dong Huangli continued to wave the chicken wing. "We are all small figures. What is there to be surprised about? The chicken wing is still the most delicious. It smells so good, however. To Long and City, such a person had not appeared for a very long time. This caused everyone to be extremely astonished. Uncle Zhou, hello." Shi Sahan could be seen walking in front of the Zhou clan's family head, Zhou Yutong, and politely shouted out. Zhou Yutong was a tall and sturdy middle-aged man, and there was a faint smile on his face. However, right now, no matter how hard he tried to smile, he was unable to smile at all. The other party's intention was already very clear. This Shi family truly doesn't give me any face at all, to actually choose this kind of occasion. Sahan, after not seeing you for a few months, you have become even more beautiful. Zhou Yutong endured the anger in his heart, and right now, Zhou Jie walked to the side and looked at this woman who had sworn not to leave him in the past. Shi Sahan said with a slight smile, "Uncle Zhou, you flatter me. Today, Sahan came here to talk about a matter." Hearing what Shi Sahan said, everyone held their breath. She really came here to break off the engagement. Burp, a strange sound rang out. In this quiet occasion, Dong Huangli squatted down embarrassedly. After burping because she was too full, she let out a burp. After this small interlude, Shi Sahan said with a smile, "Uncle Zhou, if there's anything that Sahan wants to say, you don't have to treat me as an outsider." "Hee, of course not, Sahan. If there's anything that you want to say, just say it." Looking at the martial warrior level experts and the 2 martial warriors behind them, Zhou Yutong didn't dare to say anything. Shi Sahan took a look at Zhou Jie, then said faintly, "My father wishes for our 2 families to break off the engagement. Sahan is truly sorry." Hearing what Shi Sahan said, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Shi Sahan really said it out loud. That's a direct slap to the face. However, Shi Sahan said it tactfully. She was rather polite. Shi Sahan raised her hand, and Lu Qing took out a small box. Shi Sahan said faintly, "Uncle Zhou, inside this box is a spirit-gathering pill. Jie should be able to use it. I hope that he will be able to find a better girl in the future." Bang! The wine glass in Zhou Yutong's hand was smashed into pieces. "I am the dignified family head. And I actually got my face slapped by a little girl. Furthermore, it was done in front of so many people. This is a humiliation." Looking at his father's red face, Zhou Jie said coldly, Shisahan, take your things and scram. Our Zhou family doesn't welcome you. Also, it's me who is divorcing you. To everyone's surprise, Zhou Jie took out a divorce certificate. It seemed like he had prepared for this. Zhou Jie, I'm giving face to your father. I hope you won't tarnish your father's name anymore. Shisahan said disdainfully. In the past, you were favored by the heavens, and everyone had to suck up to you. But now who do you think you are? Zhou Yutong took a deep breath and said, Sahan, is this really what your father wants? It's my own business, and I will make my own decisions. Uncle Zhou, please control your son and don't embarrass him in front of so many people. Hearing this, Zhou Jie shouted angrily, Shisahan, remember what you said today. My Zhou Jie, I swear to the heavens that you will regret it. Enough. Don't say any more. Zhou Yutong shouted at his son. Wasn't he embarrassed enough? Shisahan said faintly. Uncle Zhou is right. Know your place and know your own strength. Don't keep saying things like, life is full of ups and downs, don't bully the young. When you said that, I really wanted to laugh. You. Zhou Jie pointed at Shisahan and threw a punch at her. However, before he could make a move, his father, who was behind him, reached out and gave him a slap. Slap. It was loud and painful. Chapter 451. There were warriors on the other side. Father. Zhou Jie covered his face in disbelief. Shisahan smiled faintly and said, Uncle Zhou, it's fortunate that you made a move, otherwise Sahan would have been injured. Zhou Yutong's expression was gloomy as he said, Shisahan, you have achieved your goal. Go back. Uncle Zhou, your son was about to hit me just now. Shouldn't you apologize? Shisahan had a wronged expression on her face. Her acting was not bad. This Zhou Jie really doesn't know his place. I've already given you face, but you still want to beat me up. He was really a toad lusting after swan meat. Why didn't he look at himself first? Zhou Jie wants to apologize. Gao Can suddenly shouted from the crowd. He was from the bishop's faction, so of course he was happy to see such a situation. He also had the intention of beating the dog when it was down. As Gao Can shouted, the youths who had been bullied by Zhou Jie in the past also started to jeer. Dong Huangli said, how pitiful, to be targeted by so many people. Ali, if you knew Zhou Jie's character in the past, you wouldn't find him pitiful anymore, Fei Bai said calmly. Ziju Qingyi remained silent. In fact, no one interrupted. After all, the Shi family had brought a warrior with them. Who would dare to mess around? Zhou Jie, who had fallen to the ground, slowly stood up. His blood-red eyes glared at Shisahan as his body emitted a pure white spiritual energy. Damn. What was going on? How did this Zhou Jie? Zhou Jie is showing his prowess now. What a reversal. Shisahan is probably regretting it now. The spiritual energy on Zhou Jie's body grew thicker and thicker. His blood-red eyes turned white, and his level continued to rise. Shisahan took a step back in disbelief. She didn't expect Zhou Jie to have such a reaction. Zhou Yutong, who was behind him, was very gratified. His son had indeed been enduring silently all this while. He was still the proud son of the past. As his strength increased, the dining table shook. Zhou Jie was like a bright sun, shining brightly. Beginner martial disciple. First grade martial disciple. 10th grade martial disciple. First grade martial disciple. 5th grade martial disciple. 10th grade martial disciple. This time, everyone was stunned. The Zhou family was about to rise. Zhou Jie had risen again. He was even more powerful than before. A wave of spiritual pressure gradually spread out, and everyone could feel it. What terrifying strength. This Zhou Jie was only 16 years old, but he had already reached level 10. How fierce. You wouldn't be able to find a second genius like him in the entire Federation. This Shisahan was slapped in the face. Although it wasn't loud, it was painful. How could she miss such a man? If this didn't happen, Shisahan would be the woman of a superstar in the future. She would be the object of envy for all women. Boom. A beam of white light soared into the sky. Zhou Jie had reached the realm of a first-grade warrior. Oh my god! How was that possible? He's only 16 years old, and he's already a samurai. A warrior of this age would be considered a genius even in the imperial capital. Shisahan stared blankly at Zhou Jie, who was in the middle of erupting, stupefied. Lu Qing was also shocked. It was her first time seeing such a young warrior. Especially from nothing to something. Just like leveling up from level 0 to level 10, he instantly went from an ordinary person to a samurai. Those youngsters who were mocking Zhou Jie just now all shut their mouths, and they were even afraid of Zhou Jie. The rising Zhou Jie will definitely take revenge on them. Oh my god. I suddenly feel so regretful. Just now it would have been fine if Shisahan had left. Why did I still have to apologize to them? Right now, it isn't others who need to apologize, you are the one who needs to apologize. Fei Bai and Zijuqingyi were both stupefied. We are only martial disciples, and Zhou Jie has actually reached the realm of a first-grade warrior. The difference between us isn't small at all. Dong Huangli licked the ice cream. She felt that she had changed from a small salted fish to a big salted fish, but she was still a salted fish. Zhou Jie slowly opened his eyes, feeling the power that he hadn't felt for a long time. Looking at Shisahan, who was in front of him, he said, I told you before, I will make you regret. Life is full of ups and downs, don't bully a young man for being poor. At this moment, after Zhou Jie said such a sentence, no one refuted him, and no one laughed at him. After all, who would dare to laugh at a 16-year-old samurai? Is he tired of living? However, Dong Huangli was amused by Zhou Jie's words, then pointed at Zhou Jie and said, Haha, Ali has already heard you say that 3 times, everyone at the scene. Fei Bai and Zijuqingyi immediately covered Dong Huangli's small mouth. Little ancestor, that is a samurai, you are not allowed to laugh at him. Fei Bai said in a low voice. Ali, it wasn't 3 times, it was 2 times, and the other time was said by Shisahan. Oh, is that so? Ali remembered wrongly, I'm really sorry. Dong Huangli pouted her mouth. Just now, I was too focused on eating. Zhou Jie took a cold glance at Zhou Jie. I will properly teach all of those who laughed at me a lesson. However, I will first make these people in front of me regret. Shisahan, if you kneel down and beg right now, I will still take you in as a concubine. Zhou Jie said coldly. A lot of people felt that Zhou Jie was not bad. Although a concubine cannot be compared to a concubine, becoming a concubine of a samurai is still a great honor. After hearing that, Shisahan's beautiful face alternated between white and red. I didn't expect that this trash would actually explode. Zhou Jie, so what if this is the case? My Shi family is about to go to the imperial city. Have you been there before? Do you know how many people like you are in the imperial city? Even if you suddenly become strong now, in my eyes, you will forever be a trash. Lu Qing, who was at the side, couldn't help but sigh. Even in the entire imperial city, this Zhou Jie can be counted as a genius. Right now, if you admit defeat, you will still be able to become a concubine, but in the future, even if you want to become a concubine, you won't have any plans at all. Haha. Zhou Jie, don't dare to say that I am an absolute genius, but in the entire Blue Blaze planet, how many people are like me? A 16-year-old first-rank samurai. Shisahan, I know that you are very regretful right now, so stop putting on an act. Kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake. There is still a place for you in my concubine. A second ago, Shisahan was suppressing Zhou Jie, and in the next second, Zhou Jie rose up and slapped Shisahan's face. Shisahan tightly clenched her fists. Why did this bastard rise up? He is a trash. A complete and utter trash. Right at this moment, a family's airship arrived in the sky, and under a blue light, a slightly plump man appeared on the airship. Father! Shisahan shouted out in grievance. Slap. Shihua gave his daughter a backhand slap on her face. How dare he secretly come to break off the engagement? If it wasn't for someone coming to report, he would have missed out on a genius son-in-law, a 16-year-old samurai. In the future, he would be a marquis. Everyone was shocked. This reversal came one after another, and the head of the Shi family gave his daughter a big slap when he got off the airship. Chapter 452. Shisahan covered her cheek, her eyes filled with shock. Her father actually hit her in front of so many people. Although you didn't say anything when I came here to break off the engagement, you must have known about it and acquiesced to it. How dare he hit me? He felt wronged. Shi-Sahan felt extremely wronged. Shi-Hua walked toward Zhou Yutong and unexpectedly held his hand, saying apologetically, "Old Zhou, I've really troubled you. This unfilial daughter of mine actually did such a thing behind my back. I'm sorry for staying here." Everyone scolded him for being shameless. He came just because he saw someone else rise up. If Zhou Jie hadn't risen, he wouldn't have come. Zhou Yutong didn't want to make a big deal out of this. After all, Shi-Hua's cousin was in the imperial capital, and he was even an official. He couldn't afford to offend him. Since the other party had given him face, then forget it. Old Shi, look at what you're saying. It's all a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Zhou Yutong revealed out a smile that he hadn't seen for a long time, forcing the Shi family to lower their head. This Shi family's influence in Long and City is second to none. In the past, she had been happy that her son could climb up the ladder with the Shi family. But now, it seemed like the Shi family wanted to climb up the ladder with her son. Fei Bai whispered, "How shameless, too shameless. For the sake of benefits, they can do anything." Dong Huangli had a very puzzled look on her face. At her age, she still needs to digest what she just said. "This is a marriage alliance," Ziju Qingyi said indifferently. Even he could not escape the shackles of fate. Fei Bai comforted her. "You will find a man who will treat you well in the future." Dong Huangli immediately covered her face with her hand. Pushing the girl that he likes away? "I have never seen such a thing before." Ziju Qingyi said indifferently, "That's for sure. I'm definitely better than you." Fei Bai laughed dryly. Shi-Hua smiled at Zhou Jie and said, "Jie-Sahan is too mischievous. Uncle has already taught her a lesson for you. Don't be angry, we're family." "Who's family with her?" Zhou Jie shouted coldly. Shi-Hua's face stiffened. This boy was humiliated, and he definitely didn't feel good. "She just insulted the Zhou family. Uncle Shi, what should we do?" Zhou Jie questioned. Why didn't he show up just now when he knew that he was a super potential stock? Did he take him for a fool? Shi-Hua hardened his heart. This Zhou Jie would definitely have extraordinary achievements in the future. He had to pull him along. "Sahan, come here." Shi-Hua shouted angrily. Shi-Sahan covered her face and slowly walked over. "Apologize to Ji." Shi-Sahan widened her eyes. "Father, how can I apologize?" "Not only do you have to apologize, you have to kneel down and apologize to me. Who told you to break off the engagement? Your wings have hardened." Shi-Hua roared. "Father, you actually made your daughter kneel." "I won't kneel." Shi-Sahan was also a woman with character. She never regretted her words. Shi-Hua said solemnly, "I see that you are getting bolder and bolder." With a single hand, he pressed his daughter onto the ground. Even though she wasn't kneeling, it was enough to show her attitude. Of course, Zhou Yutong had to play the good cop at this moment. He quickly helped Shi-Sahan up and smiled. "It's normal for youngsters to be noisy. Don't you think so?" Shi-Hua also said, "That's right. Young people are hot-tempered. They'll be more stable after they have children." Zhou Jie suddenly laughed. "That's true. After Sahan gives birth to my child, she'll be a lot more well-behaved." Upon hearing what Zhou Jie said, the two fathers laughed heartily. Only Shi-Sahan knew what Zhou Jie meant. "This trash is definitely trying to torture me. You are not worthy of me. You are a trash, and you still want me to give birth to your child? Dream on." Burp. Dong Huangli burped again. Dong Huangli couldn't help but rub her stomach. "I'm so full. If I continue to eat like this, I'll turn into a pig." Burp. Dong Huangli couldn't help but burp again. Everyone looked towards her direction. Burping in this kind of situation is very strange. It's as if you are not giving other people face at all. Facing the gaze of so many people, Dong Huangli apologized very politely. "I'm sorry, Ali ate too much." However, Zhou Jie had already endured for a very long time. This isn't the first time this little girl has done this. She's trying to disgust me. Do you know what I am right now? Do you know what a rank 1 martial warrior is? Even if I go to the main city, I will be able to enjoy special treatment. Even if I go to the imperial city, I will still be considered as a genius. How can I tolerate being ridiculed by a little girl? Guards, capture this little girl and bring her out. Not just anyone can sneak in and steal food. Zhou Jie shouted out towards the guards. In actuality, Zhou Jie had already completed a huge reversal tonight. His act of showing off was also very well done. She family lowered their heads, and now, everyone present had lowered their heads as well. This was enough to prove how high Zhou Jie's act was. It was already very good for him to be here, but why did he have to go and shout at a little girl? And furthermore, it was Dong Huangli. Don't you know that her mommy regards her as her life? Don't you know that her daddy is a supreme overlord? You actually dared to openly say that their child stole food? You're really too pretentious, little brother. Hearing that someone said that she stole food, Dong Huangli was not willing to accept it. Feeling wrong, Dong Huangli said, Ali didn't steal food. Where is she? Why isn't she here yet? Quickly bring this little girl out of here. She's an eyesore. Zhou Jie spoke out once again. Because right now his ego was inflated to the point that he almost couldn't recognize himself anymore. Right at this moment, Fei Bai stood out. Zhou Jie. I was the one who brought her in. Zhou Jie sneered. Fei Bai, who do you think you are? What rights do you have to bring a person in? Letting a dog like you in is already a great honor. You. Fei Bai was quite angered. A vile person gaining power. A vile person gaining power. Then what about me? Zhixingyi stood out and said. Right now, Zhou Jie is no longer the trash that he was in the daytime. He is currently a rank 1 martial warrior. I can't afford to offend him, and I can't afford to offend him. Zhixingyi, you better properly look after the person that you brought over. In the future, don't bring any random cat or dog into our Zhou family. Do you think that my Zhou family's food is something that just anyone can eat? Zhou Jie's words dealt a blow to Dong Huangli. Feeling wronged, Dong Huangli retorted. Ali is not some random cat or dog. Ali has a daddy and mommy. Seeing that Dong Huangli's eyes had already turned red, Zhixingyi said coldly, Zhou Jie, don't think that just because you became a martial warrior, you can look down on everyone here. Ali is still a child. What are you shouting for? Zhou Jie's expression turned cold. If it was 10 minutes ago, I would be able to accept what you said, but right now, no. Zhixingyi, I can see that you are also from the royal family's faction. Don't be so shameless. Bring along this brat and scram. Zhou Jie shouted out with his hands behind his back. Chapter 453. The scene was completely silent. Even those AI robots had stopped delivering the wine. After feeling Zhou Jie's oppressive aura, they were all trembling in fear. Let alone a human. This is a clamor from a rank 1 martial warrior, in this small Longan city, who dares to provoke him. Even Lu Qing, who is also a rank 1 martial warrior beside her, doesn't dare to. Because Zhou Jie is only 16 years old. His future is limitless. Shi Sahan stood at the side and didn't say a word. In her heart, she was cursing this trash. If not for him suddenly rising up, how could I have been beaten by my father? And even more so, I lost face in front of so many people. Tomorrow this news will go viral in the entire Longan city. Even Shi Sahan thought of the title. Gold digger gets slapped in the face. Zhou family's young master rises up again. Longan city. Tremble. Zhou Jie. What kind of man are you to bully a girl and a child? Fei Bai stood in front of Zhixingyi and Dong Huangli. Zhou Jie mocked. Fei Bai, I already told you just now. Scram back to your bishop faction. Don't behave atrociously in my territory. Zhou Jie. So what if you are a rank 1 martial warrior now? With your character, you are still trash. Zhou Jie suddenly laughed out loud. This year, I have been suppressed too much, and now, I can finally let it all out. Who can understand this kind of feeling? So what, even if I slap your face, who dares to speak up for you? After finished speaking, he slapped towards the empty space. Pa. Fei Bai was directly slapped and crashed into the table beside him, causing the food to scatter all over the floor. Fei Bai. Zhixingyi cried out in shock, then ran forward. He didn't suffer much, he just got slapped in the face. Slapped across the air. This scene shocked everyone once again. This requires a very strong spirit control to be able to do this. Not to mention that the slap was concentrated at a single point. There was also strength and other factors. I didn't expect this Zhou Jie to actually be so powerful. In a few years' time, he might even be able to break through martial warrior and become martial master. At that time, even if he goes to the imperial capital, he would still be able to have a seat there, and he might even be able to meet the Federation president. In a few decades, he would become a martial king. That would be the fourth martial king in the entire Federation. Everyone felt that they were witnesses to the future martial king. They were all very excited and did not dare to say anything more. Even if Zhou Jie killed someone, they would feel that it was only natural. A piece of trash dares to clamor in front of me, Zhou Jie? Beating you is like beating a dog. Drag them out. Zhou Jie coldly snorted. He did not care about anyone's face. In the future, his name would spread throughout the entire Ashen Blaze Star, or even the entire galaxy. As long as he appeared, everyone had to kneel to welcome him, and he could choose any woman he wanted. Thinking of this, Zhou Jie laughed arrogantly. It seemed like he had suppressed it for too long that his heart had become distorted. Bang! 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 Suddenly, 3 muffled sounds rang out. The guards in the mechas were sent flying, and one of them was deeply embedded in the wall, the kind that couldn't be pulled out. However, this was not the main point. Everyone was dumbfounded as they stared at that small figure. Just now, it was her who stretched out her meaty little hand, and as if she was throwing away a doll, she threw away the 2-meter-tall burly man. Fei Bai and Zixingyi were also dumbfounded. In their hearts, and even everyone who participated in the test, they subconsciously thought that it was the machine that had malfunctioned, and it wasn't Dong Huangli who sent the 3 men in the mechas flying. However, when they saw how easily Dong Huangli threw away the 3 men in the mechas, they immediately felt dizzy. After all, the people in the mechas have strength as well. According to the level of the mechas that the guards were wearing, they should at least have the strength of a rank 3 martial disciple. Although Zhou Jie was shocked, he quickly felt relieved. After all, knocking down 3 of his family's guards wasn't a big deal. Traces of tears could be seen at the corner of Dong Huangli's eyes. Evidently, she was angered to tears just a moment ago. With a choking tone, Dong Huangli said, "No wonder everyone is ignoring you. So it turns out that you are so hateful. So what? The strong are respected. Right now, I am not someone that you all can afford to offend. Gao can, if you have the guts, scold me one more time." Zhou Jie looked towards Gao Can, who was within the crowd. Just a moment ago, Gao Can was very good at stirring up the crowd, but right now, Gao Can no longer utter a word. Gao Can, who was within the crowd, lowered his head and remained silent. If this Zhou Jie was only a martial artist, I can still scold him one more time. After all, my brother is also a martial artist, but Zhou Jie is a martial artist. Little friend, take a look, who dares to scold me? Zhou Jie spread out both of his hands, and had an expression that seemed as if no one in the world dared to scold him. You are an idiot, Ali looks down on you. Dong Huangli couldn't help but scold Zhou Jie. My mother taught me to be a sensible and polite child, but this Zhou Jie is truly too hateful. Ali wants to scold him. Everyone was very shocked. How can this child be so immature, to actually scold a martial artist? Not only did he scold a martial artist, he even said that he looks down on a martial artist. Oh my God. If a martial artist were to become angry, no one would be able to withstand his anger. Facing the scolding of a child, furthermore, the child scolded so innocently, as if what the child said was a fact. This kind of feeling made Zhou Jie very unhappy. Little wimp, if you have the guts, try scolding me one more time. Zhou Jie's expression turned cold, seemingly not joking at all. Everyone was using their gazes to persuade Dong Huangli not to anger a 16-year-old martial artist anymore. If this goes on, she will definitely get injured. Everyone didn't want to see such an adorable child get injured, but they didn't dare to say anything good about Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli used her sweet voice and shouted out once again, "You are just a salted fish. Even if you turn over a new leaf, you will still be a salted fish." Like father, like daughter, Dong Huangli had learned her father's catchphrase very clearly and logically. Hearing what Dong Huangli said, everyone sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Little ancestor, once you say those words, no one will be able to save you. Meanwhile, Zhou Jie's body emitted out a strong pressure, and with a gloomy expression he immediately disappeared from where he was standing. In a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Dong Huangli, then lowered his head and looked at the little girl in front of him. There was a very obvious difference between the two's height. Although Zhou Jie was only 16 years old, his height was already 178 centimeters, while Dong Huangli's height was only at the knee level. Even if Dong Huangli wanted to look straight into Zhou Jie's eyes, she would have to raise her head. Little wimp, do you know what you just said just now? Zhou Jie tightly clenched his fists, and a faint white light was emitting out from his fists. It seemed as if white flames were enveloping his fists. Dong Huangli didn't have a trace of fear at all, and she said with a childish voice, "Do you think that you are very powerful? You have never seen what is truly powerful, and only after you have seen what is truly powerful will you realize that you are actually nothing. In the end, a salted fish will still be a salted fish. No matter how much you evolve, you will still not be able to escape from your essence." Everyone felt that although this child's voice was very young, the feeling that this child gave off was just like that of a small adult. In fact, there was even a kind of illusion that this child's body was gradually becoming taller. Chapter 454. F***CK. A 16-year-old rank 1 martial warrior actually went to bully a child. Everyone was speechless. This is simply inhumane. Seeing that Dong Huangli was about to be bullied, Zhixingyi immediately rushed over. However, he was immediately pushed away by Zhou Jie. "Zhixingyi, you better not meddle in other people's business. Otherwise you will suffer." Seeing that his daughter was actually pushed down as a father, he immediately ran out of the crowd. This foolish child. Why did she go and provoke him? Zhixingyi glared at Zhou Jie angrily. "I'm telling you, if you touch Ali today, her parents will not forgive you." In actuality, Fei Bai and Zhixingyi felt very guilty. "We promised Ali's father that we would take good care of her, but in the end, we didn't expect that we would encounter such a thing. We are truly ashamed. We don't even have the strength to fight back. If something were to happen, how are we going to explain this to Ali's parents? That's great. I will beat her to the point that even her parents won't be able to recognize her." The current Zhou Jie was extremely ferocious. Dong Huangli looked at her big brother and big sister who were in pain, then looked at Zhou Jie who was in front of her. At first, she thought that he was pitiful, and she even stretched out her hand to help him up. Dong Huangli felt deeply humiliated by her actions. This kind of person shouldn't be pitiful. "Little fellow, today, I will teach you a lesson in place of your parents." After speaking, Zhou Jie raised his hand, seemingly like he was going to give Dong Huangli a big slap. Everyone present couldn't bear to see this scene and turned their faces away. This is too much of a bully. Right now Dong Huangli had lost her innocence and said gravely, "No one can replace my daddy and mommy." Dong Huangli lightly tapped onto Zhou Jie's chest with her meaty palm, then lightly slapped onto Zhou Jie's chest. However, Dong Huangli's action was extremely fast, to the point that Zhou Jie didn't even notice that Dong Huangli had moved. Dong Huangli's expression was still sinister, and her palm was still raised up. There wasn't the slap that Zhou Jie expected. Instead, when Zhou Jie's slap landed on the air, he lost his balance and fell onto the ground. Everyone was stupefied. Zhou Jie is a rank 1 martial warrior. How is it possible for him to fall onto the ground? Zhou Yutong was stupefied. Xihua was also stupefied. Xihua was stupefied as well. Zhou Jie, who had fallen to the ground, widened his eyes. How was this possible? The child was right in front of him. Why didn't he hit him? Instead he tripped. It was fine if he didn't get hit, but how could he have fallen? This result made Zhou Jie even angrier. This was the first time he had fought as a first-rank warrior, and it had ended with a fall. How could this be? Zhou Jie suddenly stood up, and while looking at Dong Huangli, his expression became even more sinister and terrifying. Without saying anything, Zhou Jie actually punched towards Dong Huangli. Everyone cried out in alarm. However, Dong Huangli looked faintly at Zhou Jie. then stretched out her small index finger and pointed it onto her fist. The scene froze at this moment. How was that possible? A child actually used his fingers to block the fist of a first-grade martial artist. This was unimaginable and unprecedented. Everyone was stunned, even the robot. You, how is this possible? Zhou Jie said while looking at the short and small Dong Huangli. At this moment, he is even doubting whether his strength is fake or not. Dong Huangli said angrily. Ali already told you. There is always someone better out there. You're just a small warrior. Do you really think you're very powerful? My papa can kill you with a single breath. No. That's impossible. Zhou Jie opened his big eyes and stared fixedly at Dong Huangli as he retreated. Why is this child able to block my fist with his fingers? I'm a first-grade martial artist. Suddenly, a scorching feeling came from his chest. The spiritual energy within his body is actually uncontrollably flowing chaotically. What is going on? Zhou Jie suddenly knelt onto the ground with both of his hands supporting himself on the ground. He seemed to be in a lot of pain. His originally sinister face became even more distorted, and his entire body became completely red. Zhou Yutong hurriedly walked over to his son's side and checked on his son's condition. Immediately, his expression sunk. The spiritual energy within his son's body is actually uncontrollably flowing chaotically. Xihua tightly wrinkled his brows, then said to Lu Qing, "Go and take a look at his situation." Shi Sahan sneered. Retribution. Retribution. Serves him right. Everyone was paying attention to the changes that were happening to Zhou Jie. Is this the prelude to another breakthrough? I heard that every time a breakthrough happens, it would be very painful. Lu Qing was a lot more powerful than Zhou Yutong. In an instant, she discovered the source of the problem, and her expression immediately changed. The spiritual energy within Zhou Jie's body was indeed uncontrollably flowing chaotically. However, this was not an ordinary kind of uncontrollably flowing chaotically. This also meant that Zhou Jie has been crippled. How is this possible? How can a first-grade martial artist be crippled so easily? Unless the person is a martial master-level expert. Lu Qing immediately tore open Zhou Jie's clothes, and a small handprint could be seen on Zhou Jie's chest. Then, she looked towards Dong Huangli. I didn't even see when the handprint was placed on my chest. Or could it be that this child is already so terrifying that I didn't even notice it? Lord Martial Artist, what happened to my son? Zhou Yutong had a bad premonition. Lu Qing shook her head, then walked back to Xihua's side and told Xihua about the situation. After listening to Lu Qing's report, Xihua shook his head. What a disappointment. Everyone saw the expressions on these people's faces. This Zhou Jie isn't breaking through. There is another possibility. Some of the youngsters immediately revealed a smile on their faces. Great. Even the heavens have opened their eyes. Father, I feel terrible. Zhou Jie grabbed his father's arm and begged for help like a child. He didn't have the courage he had just now. Zhou Yutong's expression remained calm. Zhou Jie turned his head around and looked towards Dong Huangli, who was not far away. What did you do to me? Did he poison me? I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Zhou Jie was finally unable to suppress himself anymore, and a mouthful of blood sprayed out from his mouth. A powerful spiritual energy erupted out from his body, and the spiritual energy soared straight into the sky. Different from before, a few minutes ago, the spiritual energy descended from the sky, but right now, the spiritual energy was indeed coming out from his body, just like returning the spiritual energy back to the sky. Zhou Jie's unwilling roars could be heard. After quite a while, everything returned back to normal. Zhou Jie had only vomited out a mouthful of blood, and it wasn't a big deal. However, right now, he felt that he would rather be dead than alive. My strength, where did my strength go? Gradually, Zhou Jie began to turn crazy as he looked at his own hands in disbelief. It's you. Zhou Jie, who was in a state of madness, suddenly stood up, then ran towards Dong Huangli at the speed of a normal person. Right now, Fei Bai and Zixingyi are the heavens. Zixingyi directly slapped Zhou Jie away. How could Zhou Yutong endure this? Surround him. Chapter 455. Zhou Yutang, what do you think you're doing? As Zishqingyi's father, Ziche asked angrily. Your son was a warrior earlier, and everyone tolerated it. But now your son is nothing. Do you think everyone can stand it? No wonder Zhou Jie was so arrogant. He must have inherited it. Zhou Yutang, you've gone too far. We're all part of the royal family, and you actually sent troops. Some of the big shots in the crowd began to speak. Your son was very arrogant just now, very arrogant. But now your son is worse than a dog. What other capital do you have? Tucking one's tail between one's legs was the hard truth. Zhou Yutang, your son is no longer a warrior. Where does your confidence come from? How shameless. This person's words were very straightforward. Just now, your son was boasting shamelessly and didn't put anyone in his eyes. Do you think anyone would help you? He was thinking too much. Zhou Yutang, I'll report to the higher-ups tomorrow to remove your Zhou clan's name. My royal family doesn't need someone like you. The one who spoke seemed to be quite powerful. Zhou Yutang's face alternated between white and green. When his son had just risen, those people didn't dare to say or do anything. Now that his son was in trouble, they instantly turned their backs on him. Zhou Jie struggled to get up. He was unwilling to accept this reality. He pointed at the crowd and shouted, I'm a warrior. You can't do this. Believe it or not, I can destroy all of you in minutes. At this moment, Gaoken laughed out loud and said, Zhou Jie, you have to understand the situation. You are no longer a warrior. You are nothing. You are still the same trash from before. That despicable person. Bullshit, I'm still a warrior. I will still be a martial king in the future. All of you better remember this. I, Zhou Jie, will become a martial king in the near future. When that time comes, I will make you suffer. Zhou Jie roared hoarsely. How could they accept such a sudden change? A few minutes ago, he was still in control of the situation. Everyone looked at him with fear, afraid of offending the future martial king. However, a few minutes later, everything was gone. Although it had only been a few minutes, it had been an earth-shattering change to his life. In actuality, Dong Huangli was also very smart right now. This meant that Yihua's teachings were on point. It was easy to kill, but it was very difficult to make others despair. Back then, when Yihua besieged Heaven's mansion, Yihua had taught Yihua that he must first give others hope, then destroy his own hope, and from there, reach a state of deep despair. That kind of despair was even more painful than instant death. Right now, looking at Zhou Jie who was shouting in despair, the corner of Dong Huangli's mouth curved up slightly. What Daddy said is right, this kind of person should be made to feel despair. As long as I cripple him, the people that he offended will once again feel disdain towards him. Just like right now, everyone has the right to punish him. Don't look at how young Dong Huangli is. In actuality, she knows a lot, and she is also very smart. Crippling Dong Huangli and killing Dong Huangli are two different outcomes. Although killing Dong Huangli feels great, Dong Huangli would become a little devil. Dong Huangli is an obedient child, and she has never killed anyone. As such, the former were more intelligent. He did not even need to make a move. Their saliva could drown Zhou Jie to death. They were too hateful and too arrogant. The people of the Zhou clan were very flustered. They all looked at their clan leader. Zhou Yutang had no choice but to seek help from his in-laws, hoping that they would put in a good word for his sake. Brother before Zhou Yutang could finish his words, Shi Hua said faintly, It's getting late, I will be heading back first. As for the marriage, I think that they are indeed not suitable for each other. So let's just forget about it. Zhou Yutang froze on the spot. The world is so cold. Just now, if not for Zhou Jie possessing the strength of a warrior, how could Shi Hua possibly lower his head and even press his daughter onto the ground to apologize? Also, just now this little bastard didn't even give me any face at all, so why should I give you any face? Shi Sahan laughed out loud, then pointed at Zhou Jie who was on the ground and said, Zhou Jie, if you kneel down and kowtow in front of me right now, I will take you in as my toy. Shi Sahan, I will still say the same thing, you will regret it. Life is full of ups and downs, don't bully a young man because he is poor. When Zhou Jie said this, the whole place was silent. Dong Huangli said, This is really the third time. In an instant, everyone burst into laughter. Zhou Jie, you actually have the face to say such words? You are simply arrogant to the extreme. If it was me, I would have dug a hole in the ground and escaped. Hearing everyone's ridicule, Zhou Jie seemed to have lost a lot of his strength. He sat powerlessly on the ground, and the domineering aura he had a moment ago was nowhere to be seen. If Zhou Jie didn't go and provoke Dong Huangli just now, Dong Huangli wouldn't have looked for trouble, and would have just stood at the side and watched how you act cool. But, you don't want to live anymore. You insist on seeking death. If Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji were here, how could they allow their daughter to suffer even the slightest bit of grievance? After all, little Ali was Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji's flesh and blood. Zhou Jie, I didn't expect that your talent in making jokes is quite good. In the future, if you don't have any money, you can go and become a clown. Especially your catchphrase, it really makes people laugh. After finished speaking, Shi Sihan left together with her father. Looking at the leaving spaceship, Zhou Jie shouted out loudly, Shi Sihan, you will regret this. When I rise to power again, I will slowly torture you. Dong Huangli reminded, you won't be able to rise to power again, because your spirit root has already been crippled by me. Spirit root has been crippled. Zhou Jie felt as if he was struck by lightning, and his head was buzzing. Everyone knows what it means to have one's spirit root crippled. From now on, I will just be an ordinary person. When the youngsters heard that Zhou Jie's spirit root had been crippled, they immediately felt relieved. Not only the youngsters, even some of the elders felt relieved when they heard that Zhou Jie's spirit root had disappeared. They were a bit worried that Zhou Jie would awaken his spirit root again. If that really happens, I will have to kneel down and lick Zhou Jie's spirit root. But from the looks of it now, there is no need for that anymore. It's good that my spirit root has been crippled. It's good that my spirit root has been crippled. From this, it could be seen that Zhou Jie's position in everyone's heart was no different than a street rat. Why? Why did you do this to me? Zhou Jie questioned Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli was very angry, and yet she still has the face to ask Dong Huangli why. Because you are truly very hateful. Furthermore, you are the worst person that I have ever seen when it comes to acting cool. Even that idiot crown prince is much better than you. At the very least, he is still able to act cool with his brain, while you are indeed brainless. Furthermore, you even bully children. You are truly shameless. Dong Huangli's words caused Zhou Jie to feel very uncomfortable. Chapter 456. Once again, no one made a sound. They had also expressed their stance. They did not want to get involved in this mess. Who knew what would happen next? To put it bluntly, it was all for the sake of benefits. They would not do anything that did not benefit them. However, they seemed to have forgotten a problem. At this moment, Zixingyi said in a deep voice, Zhou Jie, I think you're crazy. You're out of your mind. Have you forgotten who crippled you? Yes. Previously, Zhou Jie had the strength of a first-grade martial warrior. For Dong Huangli to be able to cripple him without anyone noticing, it could be seen just how frightening her strength was. Zhou Jie was able to suppress these people as a warrior, let alone Ali. The crowd began to make noises. They all realized that they had to curry favor with this little girl. This was the true future star. Zhou Yutang, I dare you to touch a child today. If you dare to touch a child, we will definitely surround and annihilate you. That's right. He's such a big man, yet he's bullying a child. Shameless. The father and son of the Zhou family were on the verge of collapse. Who was the one bullying who now? It's fine if you don't help the weak, but you even speak up for the murderer. Zhou Yutang said in a deep voice. Don't forget that she crippled my son. Fei Bai said in a low voice. That's your son's fault. Who asked him to provoke Ali? Should Ali be bullied by you? Gao Can, who was in the crowd, shouted. That's right. Is your son the only one allowed to bully others? Who do you think you are? This is a world where the strong are respected. They have only crippled your son and not killed him, which is already giving you a lot of face. The crowd immediately echoed in agreement. Dong Huangli let out a breath. These people sure know how to take advantage of the situation. If Dong Huangli was just an ordinary child, she would definitely be bullied to death. Enough! Zhou Jie shouted angrily as he slowly stood up. Following Zhou Jie's angry roar, everyone quietened down. They had no idea what this person was going to do. Zhou Jie suddenly picked up a small knife and placed it on his neck. Don't you want me dead? Then I'll die in front of you. No one had expected Zhou Jie to do such a thing, threatening to kill himself. But who are you threatening with death? Are you kidding me? Was he trying to gain everyone's sympathy? Zhou Jie, if you dare commit suicide today, I'll kowtow to you every time I see you in the future, Gao Kan said loudly. His words were echoed by the younger generation. But here came the problem. He was already dead. How could they meet? This hypothesis doesn't seem to be valid. However, it seemed like no one tried to persuade Zhou Jie. They sighed endlessly. It was really a failure to be a human being to this extent. All right. You guys are great. I, Zhou Jie, will keep my life for now. I will slowly settle the score with you in the future. After saying that, Zhou Jie tossed away the knife in his hand as if he had accepted the fact. This action really made people speechless. What happened to suicide? He went back on his words. Fei Bai chuckled. You're still as unlikable as ever. Zhixingyi nodded. If he had just committed suicide, he would have sighed. Who knew that it was just an act? Zhou Jie cupped his hands at his father and said, Father, don't worry. I won't let you down. Even if I lose my spiritual root, I still have a way. I'll cultivate in seclusion now. Zhou Yutong let out a deep sigh. There are too many unforeseen events that happened tonight, and this old heart of his is a bit unable to take it anymore. Following Zhou Jie's departure, Dong Huangli didn't say anything. After all, I have to give others hope, because by doing so, despair will seem even more despair. After he finished cultivating in seclusion, he went to look for Zhou Yutong, only to find out that Zhou Yutong was still the same as before. So I miss Daddy and Mommy. The outside world is so complicated. Ali is still a child, and I only know how to act coquettishly to Daddy and kiss Mommy. I don't want this kind of life. Big brother Fei, big sister Qingyi, Ali wants to go back. Dong Huangli mumbled. Dong Huangli really wanted to jump into her daddy's embrace and sleep. Zhixingyi carried Dong Huangli and said with a slight smile, All right, big sister will send you home. Zhixingyi's father gave his daughter a look, seemingly wanting his daughter to properly accompany this child and build a good relationship with him. Towards her father's look, Zhixingyi was naturally aware of it. However, she didn't want that to happen. Soon after, she left Zhou family with Fei Bai. A small interlude ended just like that. However, if Dong Huangli wants to become as pretentious as her father, she would have to practice a lot more. After all, it wasn't something that could be achieved in a short period of time. On the other side, Yihua brought along his 2 wives and began to entertain himself. Of course, this was something that happened an hour ago. Shi Tingting respectfully led the way at the front, while Yihua carried his 2 wives and walked at the back. At this moment, they had already arrived at the bar's passageway. This bar was very high-tech, and from time to time, it would change its scenery. Snow, ocean, outer space. However, to the locals, this wasn't a strange sight at all. Seeing that the Empress was a bit worried, Yihua asked faintly, What's wrong? Are you still worried about Ali? And I'm still worried, Dong Huang Baiji mumbled. Yihua was also able to understand Dong Huang Baiji's feelings. As a mother, she would naturally be like this. Don't worry, isn't Ali very powerful right now? Last time, she was even able to swing that red giant around. Dong Huang Baiji immediately went into a daze, then asked towards Yihua, How did you know about Ali being in Voidless Realm? Yihua, that crown prince came that day, you couldn't have come as well, right? Qingye asked. I think so. Yihua said hesitantly. Having such a smart wife is also quite troublesome. If I don't pay attention, I will be exposed. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji could be seen pinching Yihua's face with a fierce look on their faces. All right, only the 2 of you would dare to pinch my face. That day, weren't you very happy watching us being bullied? Qingye pouted her mouth and had a wronged look on her face. Yihua laughed lightly. Qingye, So it turns out that I only found out about my image in your hearts that day. To be honest, I am getting goosebumps all over my body. The two wives rolled their eyes and pinched their husbands. This man is simply a scoundrel. Seeing that his wives are being bullied, he is even laughing at the side. Actually, Ali was the one who secretly informed me that day. Weren't we quarreling with each other? Thus, I didn't show up. However, I believe in your strength, so I didn't show up. Dong Huang Baiji snorted. You just don't love us anymore. The Empress's coquettish behavior made Yihua unable to bear it anymore. He lowered his head and kissed her. Shi Tingting lowered her head and walked. The relationship between Sir and Madam sure is good. To think that they would kiss each other even while walking. Yihua, Qingye shouted out. Chapter 457. Although I didn't appear that day, that crown prince dared to be so disrespectful to you. I have already avenged this enmity, you all don't have to worry. Yihua put away his smile and said coldly, those who dare to bully my women can only be compensated with death. Their souls will be tormented in hell. Qingye intimately leaned on her husband's side and asked curiously, how did you help us take revenge? Kill all of them. Yihua said coldly, then looked at his wife. Isn't she very touched? Hearing that, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji went into a daze. Yihua, even if you don't smoke now, you still like to act cool. Qingye charmingly rolled her eyes at her husband. Donghuang Baiji also said with a smile, that's right, our Yihua is getting better and better at boasting. It's true. I never lie. Yihua appeared to be very serious. They actually don't believe me, and they actually doubt my strength. Seems like when I return home tonight, I have to let them know of my strength. Upon hearing what Yihua said, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji laughed even louder. In the past, he had said that he would only touch a woman once. Look at him now. Donghuang Baiji and Qingye would definitely talk about this for the rest of their lives. However, Donghuang Baiji was glad that Yihua was lying. Qingye said coquettishly, you still dare to say that you're not lying? Didn't we get swindled by you? I even gave birth to your children. That's because I love you. Facing against Yihua's sweet words and honeyed words, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's hearts were truly filled with sweetness. They tightly snuggled up to their husband's side and expressed their love for him. Yihua also enjoyed this moment very much. Lightly hugging onto the two of them, Yihua kissed onto his beloved wife's forehead. Yo, isn't this Tingting? Hello sir, madam. Fengwuvlan, whom he had seen in the afternoon, suddenly appeared. She walked over with a smile, and beside her was a tall and strong man. She changed men really quickly. However, Yihua realized that this man was different. At least he had a little bit of strength, and judging from Feng Lulan's intentions, it seemed like she was trying to curry favor with him. Fengwuvlan took the initiative to introduce. This is Sven Xian from the main city. He's a second-grade warrior. Shi Tingting finally understood. She had brought a man to show off. As for that gentleman, when he saw Qingye and Donghuang Baiji, he went into a daze. I didn't expect that there would be such beautiful women in a small city like this. He had never seen such a beauty even in the imperial capital. But this man actually had one in each hand. What a waste of a beauty. Hello, I am from the main city's aristocratic faction, Sven Xian. After finished speaking, he stretched out his hand towards Qingye and Donghuang Baiji. If he was able to touch their hands, it would be a very comfortable thing. However, it was a pity that Qingye and Donghuang Baiji did not have the slightest desire to stretch out their hands. Beauties really have character. It seems that tonight will not be too boring. Sir, I have a game over there. Do you want to participate? You'll be very happy. See when Xian sent out an invitation. All right. Yihua immediately agreed. Speaking of which, he often acted tough, but he rarely did it in front of his wives. Today he had to show them that he was not only the jealous king of the cultivation world, but also the supreme king of acting tough. Tonight he was going to shock them and let them know how deep his love was. To be precise, the more he acted, the more he loved them. Seems like I have a goal tonight, which is to move them and make them take the initiative to send me a bed invitation tonight. Shi Tingting, who was at the side, said softly, Sir, they don't come with good intentions. There are many people that came from the main city, and they are also very arrogant. Yihua nodded his head. I hope that they will be arrogant. If not, how would I have an excuse to cause trouble? After all, I am a law-abiding citizen. I never do bad things, and I also don't kill people. I even organize my subordinates to encircle and exterminate the monsters in Long City. I should really be given an Outstanding Citizen award. Everyone, please follow me. Sven Xian smiled politely, but his hazy expression betrayed him. And Shi Tingting was obviously here to show off. So what if you, Shi Tingting, tied up a martial artist? I am a rank 2 martial warrior, and furthermore, I am someone that came from the main city. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji still don't know what Yihua was trying to do. In order to satisfy her husband's desire to act cool, I will shout 666 later on, and support her husband. After entering the bar, Yihua discovered the advantage of technology. It is indeed very refreshing. However, the music seems to be more or less the same. All of them are electronic sounds. Seems like music doesn't differentiate between galaxies. The hall downstairs was a place where ordinary people would play, and the rich people would open a floating private room upstairs. Walking into the luxurious floating private room, it was as if walking into the deep sea, and the people that were sitting in the private room felt as if they were sitting at the bottom of the sea. Even when you stretch out your hand and touch the creatures at the bottom of the sea, the creatures at the bottom of the sea would still react, as if it was real. This is too mystical. 3 men could be seen sitting in the private room, and the one beside them should be the so-called princess. There were also 5 bodyguards standing around them, just that, the bodyguards were not wearing mechs, and they were all just some mediocre martial artists. However, it is still enough for me to act cool in front of my wife. I hope that they won't be too terrified. I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to play something big tonight. I have to make those small shrimps back off in the face of difficulties. If not, wouldn't I be annoyed to death by them? And when the 3 people in the private room saw Yihua's appearance, when they saw Qingye and Donghuang Baiji, they were immediately captivated. Why are these 2 women so beautiful? It is hard to believe that there are such women in this world. They are so beautiful that there is no bottom line. Adding on that faintly discernible temperament, I really feel as if I have them. No wonder this Sven Xian was late. It turns out that he arranged beautiful women to come over. As for this man, I will think of a way to arrange him later. Hello, I am Dai Anren who came from the main city. I am from the aristocratic faction. Hello, I am Shui Gao who came from the main city. I am from the aristocratic faction. Hello, I am Zhao Gang who came from the main city. I am from the aristocratic faction. The 3 men stood up courteously and stretched out their hands towards Qingye and Donghuang Baiji. There was no other reason, just that they wanted to touch Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's hands. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji ignored them. Let them fly into a rage, then Yihua will have an excuse to act cool. After that, I will just have to look at my husband with my beautiful eyes and satisfy that vanity of Yihua's. Being Yihua's wife is truly tiring. To think that I still have to worry about things like this for him. The 3 of you, it's fine. The 2 ladies are people who already have families. Sven Xian smiled faintly. However, the 2 ladies will not have families later on. The man who had a big bald head was Zhao Gang, and just by looking at him, one could tell that he was a bad guy. If he was placed in a television drama, he would be a henchman, the kind that would die the moment he appeared. So it is the 2 madams. I am truly sorry, Zhao Gang said modestly, appearing to be very polite. Chapter 458. Have a seat. Since we are together, we are friends. Shui Gao called out, and the drinking partners beside him walked out of the private room. After all, when he saw such a beauty and then looked at the drinking partners beside him, he simply wanted to vomit. Yihua hugged onto his wife and sat at the side, quietly waiting. I wonder what's the difference between aliens and humans. What is called a beauty? They are the real beauties, beauties that I have never seen before in my entire life. Just that, being hugged by this man, I really don't feel good. Furthermore, these 2 beauties are actually snuggling in the man's embrace, seemingly very obedient. This is simply unbelievable. They are so outstanding. They should not be worthy of this kind of man. Shi Tingting sat at the side vigilantly, feeling that something bad is going to happen. And that Si Wenshuan also hugged Feng Wulan and sat down. The corner of his mouth carried a disdainful smile. Shui Gao, where did your subordinate Lu Qing go? Why didn't he come out with you today? Zhao Gang asked. Shui Gao spread out both of his arms and leaned on the AI sofa, then said faintly, I asked him to go to Shi family to do something. You even sent a rank 1 martial warrior out to do something. You are truly amazing. Zhao Gang laughed lightly. The meaning behind his words was, look at us, even a rank 1 martial warrior can be used. A martial warrior is just a bodyguard. Dai Anren laughed lightly. My family recently hired a martial master from the Imperial City. He is very valiant. Next time when there is a chance, I will bring him out to let you guys experience. Young Master Dai is truly amazing. This little girl admires you. Feng Wulan said sweetly, her slender hands caressing Si Wenshuan's thigh, hinting crazily. Dai Anren shook his head. The Imperial City is the place where experts gather. This place is filled with martial warriors and martial masters. Without going to the Imperial City, one would not know how big this blue blaze star is. That's right, this long and city is also just a small place. Even a martial warrior is able to proclaim himself as a king here. This is truly a pity. Zhao Gang's words were saying, a martial warrior is nothing. You guys have not seen an existence that is even more amazing. More importantly, he was reminding the two beauties that they should look at the long term and not snuggle in the embrace of a martial warrior. That is something that has no future. With your looks, it is even enough to be the president's mistress. Who knows, you guys might even be able to climb up to a martial king, and in the future, you guys can enjoy glory, splendor, and wealth. Young Master Dai, I heard your family is preparing to move to the imperial capital? Shui Gao indifferently asked. Dai Anren pursed his lips and took a sip of wine. All the clans are trying their best to get into the imperial capital, but the waters of the imperial capital are so deep. If they're not careful, their entire family might be finished. Without sufficient resources, it's really not easy to go to the imperial capital. Young Master Dai going to the imperial capital to mingle, don't forget us brothers. Si Wenxian picked up his wine cup, the latter clinking it with a smile. That's only natural. Following that, the four of them started to talk about important matters, such as who had become rich, who had broken through, how much money they had, how many houses they had demolished, and how much the stock market could fall. In any case, they were not going to buy it. What he was trying to say was, you people from small places don't understand the lives of people like us. I'm telling you to broaden your horizons. Feng Wulan, on the other hand, was mesmerized by the story. She really envied those who lived in the imperial capital. They could even walk out with pride. And even Yi Hua wanted to leave. You guys have been laying the groundwork for so long, yet you still don't do anything. I, the Supreme Overlord, will go and find someone else. Seeing that my two beloved wives are about to fall asleep, I might as well carry them to the bed to sleep. May I know how I should address Mr. Shui Gao suddenly asked. Yi Hua immediately became spirited. You guys are finally not boasting anymore. Just call me Boss Yi. Yi Hua said indifferently. Boss Yi? The four of them were a bit stupefied. We are young masters that came from the main city. We have noble bloodlines. Our strengths are all martial warriors, and our underlings are all martial warriors. And you actually want a martial warrior to call you boss? May I ask where your courage comes from? Such an arrogant man. I will teach you a lesson later. Trash. For the sake of those two beauties, I will endure it for now. Boss Yi, are you interested in playing a few rounds? Dai Anren asked indifferently. Later on, I will beat you up into a dog, and you still call yourself Boss Yi? What are you acting for? Trash. Yi Hua asked indifferently. What are we playing? Si Wenxian laughed lightly. With a wave of his hand, a virtual console appeared. Yi Hua felt that the floating private room was moving. Seems like it is going to another place. Let's bet. Sven Xian smiled. I like to gamble. I hope that you will be able to pay back the money that you owe me on time. If not, your consequences will be even worse than Xiao Yi's. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, who were originally squinting their eyes, heard what Donghuang Baiji said. My husband is actually going to go and gamble? And when Chinya thought back to that time when she gambled, she felt that it was truly exciting. Very quickly, the hovering private room reached its destination. Suddenly, the private room became transparent, as if they were standing in the air, and beneath their feet was a large arena. A bloody battle was taking place inside. Following the bloody battle, the audience's excitement was ignited, and the entire arena seemed to be on the verge of lifting. In order to make a living, many people would take the risk to participate in the arena. If they won, they could get a large sum of money. If they lost, they would be gone. Moreover, players with a winning streak would gain popularity. They could even make it to the main city's arena in one go. How are we betting? Yihua asked curiously. Who do you want to bet on? Sven Xian asked with a smile. Yihua nodded his head. This is very simple. How big is the bet? Yihua continued asking. Boss Yi, you can bet however big you want. Shui Gao said with a disdainful tone. Yihua smelled the fragrance of Qingya's hair and said faintly, I like to bet on family property. After hearing that, Qingya really wanted to laugh. He's here again. After hearing that, the four went into a daze, and soon after they laughed. Isn't this funny? Boss Yi sure knows how to joke. Zhao Gang laughed. People who gamble on family property are usually lunatics. Yihua said in a deep voice. Aren't you all very rich? After saying so much just now, you all still don't dare to bet on this? This is provocation. This is provocation. How can you say no in front of a beauty? Even if you can't, you still have to do it. Boss Yi, since you said that you want to bet on family property, may I know how much family property do you have? Dianren questioned. This man is simply too arrogant to actually boast shamelessly in front of the main city's four big princes, and even said that you want to bet on family property. I'm just afraid that you can't afford to lose. Right now, Yihua definitely did not count on Shi Tingting anymore, and decided to take action himself. Yihua took out the trashiest weapon from his storage ring, and threw it onto the table. This is my family property. Looking at the broadsword that was emitting a faint green aura on the table, the four big princes were stupefied. Their eyes were opened wide, and their mouths were wide open. Shi Tingting cried out in surprise, Mister, this is a cosmos artifact. Chapter 459. I have so many trashy weapons, so I might as well take them out for a gamble. If I took out a slightly better weapon, their hearts might not be able to take it, but even if it was the most trashy weapon, they still seem to be extremely shocked. I like this kind of expression on their faces, it makes me very happy. However, Yihua suddenly felt a pain on his waist. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji looked at Yihua with a resentful gaze, seemingly asking why he didn't let us use such a weapon, and instead hit it. Yihua hugged onto his wives. How can you all use such a trashy weapon? It is not worthy of my women. Shi Tingting, how much do you think this flowing lotus blade is worth? Yihua asked. Shi Tingting was astonished, then said fearfully, Mr. Cosmos artifacts are priceless. Right now, the four princes were still in a state of shock. This is a fucking cosmos artifact. I have only heard of it, but I have never seen it before. Even the current Martial King doesn't have a cosmos artifact, and it seems like only the president has such a weapon. If I were to win this cosmos artifact, wouldn't I be able to ascend to the heavens in one go? Although this trashy weapon is nothing to Yihua, after all, it came from the hands of an overlord. No matter how trashy a weapon is, it is still a treasure to others. Just like Hong Tai, who was killed by Yihua. The reason why he collected so many ancient godly items and tools was all to forge a primordial godly item. And this flowing lotus blade was a primordial godly item. And it was the most trashy primordial godly item. Yihua let go of his wife's willow branch and looked at the four men in front of him. I will use this blade to gamble all of your belongings. The four men inhaled a mouthful of cold air. They were completely stunned. They didn't dare to say anything, and they didn't dare to do anything. The confidence that they had a few minutes ago had long been destroyed by them. Right now, Shi Tingting really didn't know who they were. To actually take out a cosmos artifact so easily, and to even use it to gamble. Even if the four of them took out all of their belongings, they still wouldn't be able to buy a cosmos artifact. Mr. is really crazy. The appearance of a cosmos artifact will definitely cause a huge commotion. When the time comes, everyone will come to snatch it, and that will be troublesome. Mr. is really muddle-headed. As for Feng Wulan, she sat there in a daze the entire time, staring at the universe god weapon on the table. She never thought that there would be a day when she would be so close to a universe god weapon. Boss Yi, let us discuss this with our family. Dai Enren said solemnly and immediately contacted his family. It was the same for the other three. Only by combining the strength of the four clans would they be able to obtain this cosmos god artifact. Yihua waved his hand. You can discuss whatever you want with me. In any case, I, the Supreme Overlord, will definitely win. After a long time, the four young masters of the main city had an answer. Sven Xian said in a deep voice, each of us will pay 50 billion gold coins. That's 200 billion gold coins in total. What do you think, Boss Yi? Yihua didn't reply to Shi Tingting's question. Instead, he asked Shi Tingting, is 50 billion worth all that they should have? Shi Tingting furrowed her brows slightly. Although it was a simple question, it was also related to when it came to choosing a side. If she chose the wrong side, then she would face terrible consequences. Should he stand on Mr.'s side, or should he stand on the side of the main city's four young masters? Since Mr. is able to take out a Cosmos God artifact, he is definitely not simple. Since you are gambling your family's fortune, then I, Shi Tingting, can only gamble the fate of my clan. Sir, 50 billion per family is not all of their assets. The assets of each family should be around 150 billion. Shi Tingting's words caused the fourth young master to gnash his teeth fiercely. If I succeed this time, I will definitely kill this woman. Yihua held onto the flowing lotus blade that was on the table, and immediately, a green light shone out from the blade. You all are very dishonest. Boss Yi, we can talk things out. Right now, it is late at night, and it is a bit difficult to mobilize such a huge amount of funds. Zhao Gang explained hurriedly. Yihua didn't pay attention to Zhao Gang and asked Shi Tingting once again, is what he said the truth? Shi Tingting shook her head. If I have the heart to deal with it, I will be able to finish it within 10 minutes or so. Right now, the fourth young master wished that he could eat Shi Tingting's meat, then cut it into pieces and roast the meat to eat. I will give you all 10 minutes. If you all don't want to gamble, then forget it. I will go and find someone else. Boss Yi, wait a moment, I will contact them again. Shui Gao said hurriedly. The fourth young master began contacting their families again. From the tone of their conversation, it could be heard that they were very nervous, and also very much wanted to possess the Cosmos God artifact. 10 minutes later. Boss Yi, the time is too tight. Each of us has 100 billion gold coins, and the remaining 50 billion gold coins will be transferred to us in half an hour. Sven Xian said gravely. 600 billion gold coins. Yihua felt that it should be able to be used as the traveling expenses this time. Shi Tingting, go and see if they are lying or not. Yihua said. Shi Tingting opened up the system and compared the cards on the table. Mister, there is no mistake. Let's begin then. Yihua threw the flowing lotus blade in his hand onto the table, as if he was throwing a fruit knife, causing the fourth young master's heart to ache. At the same time, the fourth young master was also curious, just what kind of person is this man, to actually casually take out a god equipment? This is truly too unbelievable. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it even if I was beaten to death. After all, the rarity of a god equipment was truly shameful. If one were to get hold of a god equipment, one would be able to dominate the entire world. However, after getting hold of the flowing lotus blade, how are we going to split the flowing lotus blade is also a problem. However, this is only the follow-up. A projection could be seen appearing in front of the few people's eyes. This projection was the contestant for the next round. Yihua took a glance at the contestants. A dwarf from the elf race, and a 3 meters tall minotaur, and the dwarf minotaur was a consecutive champion. This was a one-sided battle. As long as one's brain wasn't damaged, they would bet on the minotaur to win. Therefore, the odds of the minotaur winning was very low. while the odds of the dwarf minotaur winning was as high as 1,000. You guys choose first, I will choose the opponent that you guys are against. Yihua said faintly, then held on to his wife's waist with both of his hands and slowly caressed her waist. This is simply the enjoyment of a deity. Meanwhile, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji snuggled into their husband's embrace and quietly watched as their husband acted cool. To them, this was also a kind of enjoyment. Their husband's strength gave them an unlimited sense of security. Needless to say, after the misunderstanding was resolved, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji became even more reliant on Yihua. Yihua also referred to Lai Gu's experience, not letting the two of them have the time to think about anything else. Especially Donghuang Baiji. She felt so comfortable that she didn't even want to get out of bed. Hearing Yihua's words, the fourth young master immediately became happy. The four of them discussed for a bit, then Dai Anren said with a smile, "Boss Yi, we will choose the beast man. Rodney, I will choose the elf race's Brett then," Yihua said faintly. Chapter 460. Boss Yi, since you have made your choice, then don't regret it. Zhao Gang reminded Yihua. This bet is already very obvious. We are going to win for sure. Yihua said coldly, since I said it, then it won't be fake. I am trustworthy. This sentence caused Qingye and Donghuang Baiji to stretch out their hands and pinch Yihua's waist. Do you still have trustworthy? You are a big liar. These two women pinched my waist again. In this entire universe, only you two would dare to do this. Then I wish Boss Yi good luck. Si Wenxian laughed lightly, appearing to be very confident. Yihua said indifferently, my good luck will always be with me. There is no need for you to worry about me. Could it be that I am so awesome? So it turns out that I have a cosmos artifact with me. I reckon that the two beauties only followed me because they have their eyes on that cosmos artifact. If the cosmos artifact is gone, the two beauties will definitely look for someone else. And whoever who has a cosmos artifact will definitely be able to obtain the hearts of the beauties. If a beauty like this were to fall into his hands, he would definitely be able to customize a super comfortable waterbed. In the arena, the host's introduction rang out. Next, let's welcome the Tauren who has 5 consecutive victories. Rodney. Along with the host's introduction, the iron gate at the side slowly opened, and a 3 meters tall Tauren could be seen breathing heavily as he slowly walked out. The Tauren was wearing simple chainmail, and his right hand was holding onto an iron axe. The axe was stained with blood, and all of the blood belonged to his opponent. Roar. Rodney let out a beast-like howl, raising his aura to the peak. Along with the howl, the blood of the spectators also started boiling. During the day, they worked under pressure. And during the night, they began to release their natural instincts, thirsting to see a bloody battle. Look at Rodney's strong muscles, that explosive power in his arms. The iron axe in his hand is already unable to endure the thirst. Will he be able to obtain the 6th victory? Next, let's welcome the elf. Brett. The iron gate opposite of Rodney opened, and a 1m tall dwarf could be seen walking out slowly. His body was wearing a simple white cloth, and his appearance was very delicate and pretty. His big eyes were dark green in color, and his ears were very long and very pointy. He had the characteristics of the elf race, and his skin was very fair. In his hand was a wooden bow, and on his back was a quiver that had 5 arrows inserted into it. However, could the iron arrowhead really pierce through the Tauren's skin? It was obviously very difficult. The newcomer, Brett, is proficient in archery. Coupled with his petite build, his speed is definitely not bad. Although there is a huge disparity in strength, I believe that Brett will have a good result. Everyone, please wait and see. Needless to say, following the host's words, Brett's bets increased once more. After all, the odds were really attractive. If he really won, that would be awesome. The host looked at the bets and was secretly delighted. How could this shorty win? Brett bit his lips tightly, his right hand tightly grasping the bow and arrow. His eyes were a little confused, especially when he looked around at the dense crowd and the cheers in his ears. He was even more at a loss. No, Brett. You can't be afraid. Grandpa is still waiting for you to return. You have to use the money you won to treat Grandpa's illness. Otherwise, Grandpa would die. Once he thought of his grandfather lying on the sickbed, Brett's gaze became more resolute. If he won this battle, he would receive a reward of 1,000 gold coins. And his grandfather would be able to keep his life. He had to win. Even if he had to risk his life, he had to win. This was life. Yi Hua was sitting in the sky, gambling a few 100 billion gold coins. And some people were indeed risking their lives for the sake of 1,000 gold coins. Whether this was a misfortune or a natural phenomenon, no one could say for sure. Yi Hua, who was sitting in the floating private room, saw Brett through the big screen. That resolute gaze of Brett made Yi Hua recall his weak self in the past. Back then, those days were filled with hardship and danger. Other than training, he also had to hide from humans, hide under dirty swamps, and hide in stinky latrines. Those long days were still fresh in Yi Hua's mind. However, he also kept on telling himself that only by becoming stronger would he not be bullied by others. Only by becoming stronger would he be able to control his own fate. In Yi Hua's heart, working hard would at least give him a trace of hope. If he didn't work hard, he would be a salted fish for his entire life. Even if he managed to change his fate, he would still be a salted fish. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji looked at Brett, who was on the big screen. They couldn't bear to see Brett, but they didn't dare to say it to Yi Hua, in case Yi Hua said that they were soft-hearted again. Thus, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji buried their heads into their husband's embrace. Yi Hua thought to himself, "Little fellow, today is my gamble, you are lucky." In the arena, Brett stared fixedly at Rodney, who was 20 meters away from him. Pulling out an arrow, Brett knocked the arrow onto his bow. Facing such a huge figure, a feeling of powerlessness emerged from the bottom of his feet. Along with the sound of the battle starting, the arena burst into a clamor. "Kill him! Use your axe to chop that shorty to death! Kill, kill, kill! I want to see you tear that shorty's body apart! I want to see you drink that shorty's blood and tear him apart." Hearing those voices, Brett was at a loss. I didn't offend them at all. Why do they want me to die so much? Roar. Rodney let out another roar, then leaned his entire body forward and rushed towards Brett. Facing such a ferocious aura, Brett was scared silly, and he stood on the spot, not knowing what to do anymore. Rodney could be seen leaping high into the air and raising his axe with both hands. If Rodney were to chop down with his axe, Brett would definitely be chopped into two. Rodney could be seen leaping high into the air and raising his axe with both of his hands. If Rodney were to chop down with his axe, Brett would definitely be chopped into two halves. Meanwhile, inside the floating private room, fourth young master was so nervous that he was clenching his fists tightly. Meanwhile, Sven Xian's hand was originally placed on Fengwuvlan's thigh, and right now he was so nervous that he was tightly pinching onto Fengwuvlan's thigh. Meanwhile, Fengwuvlan was staring fixedly at the screen, and had even forgotten to shout out in pain. Shi Tingting also held her breath. Did I lose just like this? Isn't this a little too fast? That's a universe artifact, and it was gone in less than 10 seconds. Yi Hua appeared to be very calm, and he was very confident in Brett. I, the Supreme Overlord, will cheat? That's impossible. I, the Supreme Overlord, have never cheated before. Although Qingye and Donghuang Baiji didn't intend to watch the battle, but they were women, after all, and they didn't mean what they said. Both of them were nervously staring at the screen. Right now, Brett was staring blankly at the Minotaur, who was leaping high into the air. Even the blood vessels within the Minotaur's eyes could be seen clearly. Grandfather's pale face appeared in Brett's mind. I cannot die. I must take the prize money back to treat grandfather's illness. At this crucial moment, Brett rolled to the side. There was a loud bang. The iron axe hacked onto the ground, and half of the axe's blade sank into the ground. From this, it could be seen just how strong the Minotaur was. Chapter 461. The fourth young master, who was in the floating private room, let out a sigh. Such a good opportunity, and I actually missed it just like that. While rolling, Brett's gaze became serious. He quickly pulled the bow and took aim. His movements were rather proficient, but what no one knew was that this was the first time that Brett held a bow. Bang! The arrow drew a beautiful straight line in the air and firmly hit its target. "Aw!" Rodney let out a miserable shriek. The arrow pierced through one of his eyes, and blood immediately flowed out from the arrow, covering his entire face. Brett immediately ran away. He wasn't stupid. Rodney's muscles were as tough as stone. My arrow was completely unable to cause any damage to Rodney. The most effective way to attack is to shoot Rodney's eyes. Facing the sudden counterattack, everyone was a bit stupefied. The situation in front of us isn't real. That is the powerful Tauren Rodney, the champion of 5 consecutive victories. Even a stone man was struck to death by that attack, let alone a dwarf. I definitely underestimated my enemy. I was too careless. Looking at the situation, the 4th young master was already sweating cold sweat. If I really lose, I definitely won't be able to get my money back. Rodney has a universe artifact. How am I supposed to snatch it away? Do I have to use my life to snatch it away? This damn dwarf was just standing there motionlessly just a moment ago. Why did he suddenly move and even blind the Tauren's eye? Could it be that this isn't a game of brute force, but a game of technology instead? This is too much of a scam. The organizer is clearly digging a pit for us. Seeing the little elf's counterattack, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji immediately cried out in surprise. How could they not be able to bear it anymore? The person that I chose naturally has his reasons. There is no need for me to cheat at all. I am just that confident. Brett, who was in the field, drew his bow again, aimed and shot. Bye. What Brett needed to do right now was to blind the other eye of the Tauren. Only then would he have a chance of winning, otherwise it would be useless. Rodney immediately let out a roar, pulled out the axe that was stuck in the ground, then turned around. The arrow pierced through Rodney's firm arm and pierced through the skin, but it didn't bleed at all. I am going to crush you. Rodney went crazy. After pulling out the arrow from his eye, he ran towards Brett without a care for his life. Brett ran away hurriedly. There was no hope for him to fight Rodney head-on. However, every step that the Tauren took was equivalent to Brett running a few steps. The axe once again fell, and Brett hurriedly dodged, but Rodney immediately lifted his foot and kicked the petite body. Brett had no other choice but to protect his chest with both hands and withstand the power of this kick. Bang! The kick landed heavily on Brett's arms. Brett's entire body flew out like a cannonball and crashed into the wall. Then he fell to the ground motionless. The entire place was silent for a moment, then erupted into loud cheers. Rodney did not disappoint them. He killed the shorty with one kick. The 4th young master in the floating room shouted excitedly. They won. Although it was a little scary just now, it was still more daunting than dangerous. As expected of a Tauren, his combat power was extraordinary. Shi Tingting heaved a sigh of relief. Did she lose just like that? Yi Zichen took a look at the Cosmos God equipment on the table. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji didn't care about the Cosmos God equipment on the table at all. They were worriedly looking at the elves on the screen. However, in the eyes of the 4th young master, they were worried that he would lose the Cosmos God equipment. However, Yihua was not worried in the slightest. He was as steady as empty Tai and had the posture of a big shot. No one would be able to learn this posture of Yihua. And even if they were able to learn it, they would not have that kind of pretentiousness. If it wasn't for Qingye saying that smoking was not good for the fetus, I would have smoked a mouthful of it. Boss Yi, it seems like our luck today is a bit lacking. Dai Enren smiled, indicating that he had let him win. Right now, as long as he chopped off that shorty's head, the owner of this Cosmos Divine equipment would change. Even the owner of these 2 beauties would change as well. Just when the 4th young master was feeling happy, a white light descended from afar. Shui Gao went into a daze for a moment, then laughed. For someone to break through in this kind of small city, it is truly a miracle. That's true, there are quite a lot of surprises tonight. Zhao Gang followed along and said. However, the white light that they were seeing right now was precisely the white light that Zhou Jie was seeing. In a while, they would be able to see another white light soaring into the sky. Within the arena, Rodney dragged his heavy iron axe and walked towards Brett while gasping for breath. Damn shorty, you actually destroyed my eyes. I am going to eat you alive. Rodney let out a series of growls and swore that he would have a feast of human flesh tonight. I heard that the flesh of elves is exceptionally sweet. When the spectators saw Rodney walking towards Brett, their eyes were filled with excitement. They really wanted to see the scene of the shorty being torn apart piece by piece. Rodney raised his iron axe and said angrily, "I am going to chop you into pieces and eat you alive." Just when everyone thought that the outcome of the battle was already set, Brett, who was not moving at all, suddenly grabbed onto the sand on the ground and threw it towards Rodney's face. Rodney, who was holding onto his axe with both hands, was unable to block in time, and the sand immediately fell into his eyes. "Little bastard. I am going to chop you to death." Rodney did not bother to wipe his eyes and directly chopped down onto Brett. Brett hurriedly dodged, and blood was already flowing out from the corner of Brett's mouth. That chop just now was really painful, and right now his entire body was still hurting. Taking advantage of the fact that Rodney was unable to see clearly, Brett hurriedly ran away. Rodney, who was blinded, randomly chopped at Brett as he roared and cursed. Brett stood 10 meters away and drew his bow. His eyes were filled with determination. "I must win." By the accuracy of an arrow at close range was greatly increased. In addition, Rodney was flustered and exasperated. He did not even protect his other eye properly, and was shot again. Rodney, who was completely blinded, let out a miserable roar, and the iron axe in his hands fell to the ground. Seeing this, Brett immediately ran over and grabbed the iron axe with both hands. He used all his strength to drag Rodney away, not letting him pick up the iron axe again. When Rodney reacted and went to pick up the iron axe, he discovered that it was gone. "Damn shorty, if you have the ability, fight me one-on-one. I am going to trample you to death." The crazed Rodney ran around in fear, using his own head to hit the ground. It was obvious that he had lost his mind. Brett stood in the middle and watched as Rodney ran away in fear. A few minutes later, Rodney no longer had any strength left. He panted heavily, and the blood flowing out of his eyes was shocking. "Little shorty, chop him to death. Yes, chop off his head." The entire arena was instantly filled with cheers. Killing a little shorty was indeed satisfying, but seeing the champion of 5 consecutive victories die seemed to be even more satisfying. Rodney clearly heard the cheers of the audience, and he roared angrily, "I will not lose. I will kill that little shorty." You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.